Have you ever considered that the most profound sound in the universe is not a bang, but a hum? A deep, continuous vibration that underpins all of creation. In the forgotten courtyard of a temple that exists only in the deepest part of your memory, there hangs a bell. For centuries, it has been silent, covered in the dust of neglect, waiting. That bell is your soul. It holds a note that only you can sound, a frequency that is your unique signature in the cosmos. But the noise of the world has made you forget it is even there. We live in a cacophony, a relentless storm of information, of expectation, of digital screams and whispered anxieties. The sound of traffic is loud, but the sound of your own racing thoughts is louder. The demands of others are loud, but the voice of your own inner critic is deafening. You feel tired, not just in your body, but in your very being. This is not a failure of strength. This is not a flaw in your character. This exhaustion, this burnout, this nagging sense of being a stranger in your own life is a symptom. It is the simple, painful feedback of a life lived out of tune. It is the dissonance of an instrument playing a song it was never meant to play. We have been taught to seek answers by adding more noise, a new podcast, another book, a different opinion. We seek to drown out the discomfort with more distraction. But the cure for noise is not more noise. The cure is listening. This is an invitation to step out of the storm, not by traveling to a distant mountain, but by journeying inward, into the quiet space that has always existed behind the chaos of your mind. Here, in this inner sanctuary, we will begin a different kind of listening. We will learn to distinguish the static from the signal. We will peel away the layers of noise until we can finally hear the subtle, sacred hum of your own existence. This is a journey to reclaim your original sound, to tune the instrument of your body and mind, and to once again resonate with the vast, healing symphony of the universe. The bell is waiting. It is time to let it ring. Have you ever considered that the most profound sound in the universe is not a bang, but a hum, a deep, continuous vibration that underpins all of creation? In the forgotten courtyard of a temple that exists only in the deepest part of your memory, there hangs a bell. For centuries, it has been silent, covered in the dust of neglect, waiting. That bell is your soul. It holds a note that only you can sound, a frequency that is your unique signature in the cosmos. But the noise of the world has made you forget it is even there. We live in a cacophony, a relentless storm of information, of expectation, of digital screams and whispered anxieties. The sound of traffic is loud, but the sound of your own racing thoughts is louder. The demands of others are loud, but the voice of your own inner critic is deafening. You feel tired, not just in your body, but in your very being. This is not a failure of strength. This is not a flaw in your character. This exhaustion, this burnout, this nagging sense of being a stranger in your own life is a symptom. It is the simple, painful feedback of a life lived out of tune. It is the dissonance of an instrument playing a song it was never meant to play. We have been taught to seek answers by adding more noise, a new podcast, another book, a different opinion. We seek to drown out the discomfort with more distraction. But the cure for noise is not more noise. The cure is listening. This is an invitation to step out of the storm, not by traveling to a distant mountain, but by journeying inward, into the quiet space that has always existed behind the chaos of your mind. Here, in this inner sanctuary, we will begin a different kind of listening. We will learn to distinguish the static from the signal. We will peel away the layers of noise until we can finally hear the subtle, sacred hum of your own existence. This is a journey to reclaim your original sound, to tune the instrument of your body and mind, and to once again resonate with the vast, healing symphony of the universe. The bell is waiting. It is time to let it ring. Having acknowledged the storm, we now face a choice. We can continue to be tossed about by its winds, or we can do something that feels both profoundly simple and monumentally difficult. We can choose to be still. This choice requires a different kind of courage. It is not the loud, performative bravery of the battlefield or the boardroom. It is a quiet, internal fortitude. It is the courage to turn down the volume of the world, to deliberately unplug from the collective hum of anxiety, and to face the frontier of your own inner landscape. Silence is not a retreat. It is an advance, a deliberate movement into a territory most people spend their entire lives avoiding. We have been conditioned to believe that our worth is measured by our output, by our noise. The busy calendar, the back-to-back meetings, the constant stream of communication, these have become badges of honor, proof that we are important, that we exist. To choose silence is to defy this programming. It is a radical act of self-possession, an assertion that your being is more important than your doing. It is the decision to stop performing your life and to simply, courageously live it. The moment you commit to this, the moment the last artificial sound fades, you will feel it. A sudden, sharp sense of vulnerability. It is as if you have been wearing a heavy suit of armor your entire life and have just allowed it to fall to the floor. There is an immediate lightness, a relief, but it is followed by a chilling awareness of your own exposure. The armor was your identity. It was your job title, your role as a parent or a partner, your carefully constructed personality, your collection of opinions and beliefs. It was the story you tell the world and yourself about who you are. This story is built and maintained with words, with actions, with noise. But in the quiet, the story dissolves. The labels fall away. The roles become irrelevant. And what is left is just you, raw, unedited, undefined. This is the source of the fear. The ego, that part of you that thrives on definition and separation, panics in this undefined space. It scrambles for something to hold on to, a thought to think, a problem to solve, a label to wear. Silence is a threat to its very existence. It is in this vulnerable space that you are no longer a noun, but a verb. You are not a somebody. You are simply and magnificently being. This exposes the central conflict of the spiritual journey, the tug-of-war between the ego and the soul. The ego craves the noise. It needs to be seen, to be heard, to be validated. It lives on the feedback of others. It is a ghost in the machine that measures its reality by the echoes it receives from the outside world. It screams, "Notice me, acknowledge me, reassure me that I am real." The soul, however, has a different longing. It does not need to be seen, for it knows it is part of everything. It does not need to be heard, for it is connected to the universal hum. It longs for dissolution, for the peace of merging back into the whole. It whispers, "Be still, be present, let go of the struggle." Every time you choose distraction over silence, you are feeding the ego's fear. Every time you have the courage to sit in the quiet, you are answering the soul's call. You are choosing the profound relief of presence over the exhausting performance of personality. You are trusting that who you are in your silent essence is far more real and powerful than any role you could ever play. Here we discover the great, transformative secret of silence. It is not empty. It is not a void or an absence. Silence is a container. It is the most powerful container in the universe. Imagine a field. If the field is constantly being trampled by a panicked crowd, nothing can grow. The ground becomes hard, compacted, lifeless. This is the mind lost in the cacophony. But when the crowd leaves, when the field is left alone in quiet stillness, a miracle occurs. The earth softens. The rain seeps in. And deep within the soil, seeds that have lain dormant for years begin to stir. This is the nature of silence. It is the fertile ground of consciousness. When you provide it, you create the conditions for your own inner truth to sprout. Intuition, creativity, compassion, wisdom. These are not things you can acquire through force or effort. They are the natural flora of a quiet mind. They grow organically from the space you create. True courage, then, is not the act of shouting your truth louder than everyone else. It is the act of being quiet enough to finally hear it yourself. Let us use another image. Think of silence as a vast, deep ocean. Most of humanity lives on the surface, in the first few feet of water where the waves chop and the winds howl. This is the realm of the chattering mind, of daily dramas, of fleeting pleasures and pains. We are tossed about by these surface currents, believing that this turbulent reality is all there is. We are so busy trying to keep our heads above water that we never imagine the world that lies beneath. The courage to be silent is the courage to take a deep breath, to release the fear of drowning, and to allow yourself to sink. As you descend, something remarkable happens. The noise from the surface begins to fade. The chaotic motion gives way to a gentle, powerful sway. The light changes. It becomes softer, more diffuse. The pressure increases, a tangible feeling of presence all around you. This is the pressure of your own consciousness, no longer dissipated on the surface, but gathered in its full intensity. Down here, in the profound stillness of the deep, is where the true life of the ocean exists. It is a world of immense power, of ancient wisdom, of creatures both terrifying and beautiful. This is your inner world. The courage of silence is the willingness to explore these depths, to become familiar with the topography of your own soul, and to discover that the immense, quiet power of the ocean has been within you all along. To begin this descent, you do not need to be a mystic or a monk. You need only to claim a small piece of the world for this sacred purpose. Create a space. It does not need to be grand. It can be a simple chair in the corner of a room, a cushion on the floor, a spot by a window. What makes it sacred is not what it contains, but the intention you bring to it. This space is a declaration. It is you saying to the universe and to yourself, this time is for listening. This place is for stillness. When you enter this space, you leave the roles and the armor at the door. You come as you are. And you begin with the most intimate, fundamental sound of your own existence, the sound of your breath. The breath is the perfect anchor for your attention. It is the rhythm that connects the conscious mind to the subconscious body. It is the gentle wave that rises and falls, a constant reminder of the ocean's presence. Do not try to control it. Simply listen to it. Feel the air entering your nostrils, cool and fresh. Follow it as it fills your lungs. Notice the subtle pause at the peak of the inhalation. Then follow it out again, warm and releasing. The sound of your own breath is the first echo of the universe you will hear in the stillness. It is the quiet hum of life itself, the foundational note of your being. By choosing this stillness, by creating this space, by anchoring yourself in the rhythm of your breath, you have demonstrated a profound courage. You have turned away from the world's frantic demands and turned toward the soul's quiet invitation. You have laid down your weapons, the distractions and defenses, and have chosen to stand, open and willing, in the presence of your own being. You have created the container. You have prepared the fertile ground. You have begun your descent into the deep. Now, the journey truly begins. Now that the external noise is fading, and the armor is off, and the breath is your guide, we must ask the next question. In this newly claimed silence, what are the first sounds that begin to echo from the void within? What forgotten voices, what hidden feelings, what buried truths are now stirring in the deep, waiting for the opportunity to be heard? You have done it. You have stood at the edge of the chattering world and taken a step back. You have found your sacred space. You have settled into your own stillness, and you have anchored yourself to the quiet rhythm of your breath. You have gathered your courage and turned your attention inward, expecting perhaps a gentle peace, a soft hum, a welcome quietude, and what you find instead is a roar. The silence, paradoxically, is deafening. The external noise has stopped, only to reveal that the true source of the cacophony was never outside of you. It was waiting right here, beneath the surface. Now, with no distractions to drown them out, the voices emerge from the shadows. These are the first echoes in the void. The first voice is often that of the inner critic. It is the relentless narrator of your inadequacy. It has been speaking for so long you have mistaken its voice for your own. It points out every flaw, magnifies every mistake, and compares your unedited, behind-the-scenes life with the highlight reels of others. It whispers that you are not disciplined enough, not spiritual enough, that you are even failing at this simple act of being silent. Close behind it comes the historian of regret, opening its dusty archives to replay your most cringe-worthy moments, your failures of nerve, the times you hurt others or were hurt yourself. It speculates on different pasts, trapping you in the phantom pain of what might have been. And then there is the futurist of anxiety, a frantic architect building elaborate blueprints of doom. It presents every possible negative outcome as an impending certainty, demanding that you worry, that you plan, that you solve problems that have not yet and may never arise. These voices clamor for attention, a chorus of inner ghosts, finally given an empty stage on which to perform their tragedies. In this moment, it is easy to feel a profound sense of disappointment, a feeling of failure. You sought silence for relief, and instead you have found a more intimate and potent form of torment. The temptation is to believe you are doing it wrong, that peace is for others, for calmer, more evolved souls. The urge to flee, to stand up and switch on any noise to drown out this inner committee is immense. This is the first great test on the inward path, and it is here that we must reframe our entire understanding of the journey. You did not come to silence to immediately find peace. You came to silence to find the truth. And the truth is, this inner noise is what has been standing between you and peace all along. You have not failed. You have succeeded. You have succeeded in pulling back the curtain and seeing the machinery that has been running your life from the shadows. You are finally meeting the unhealed parts of your own psyche, the fragmented energies that you have been successfully repressing with busyness and distraction. This is not a sign of failure. It is the beginning of the most courageous work a human can do. Here is the essential wisdom you must hold on to in this stage. These echoes are not your enemies. They are not monsters in the closet. They are messengers. They are lost children, ringing your doorbell, asking for help. The voice of the inner critic is a frightened child, taught somewhere in your past that you would only be safe or loved if you were perfect. Its constant criticism is a misguided attempt to protect you from the perceived pain of rejection. The historian of regret is a child still grieving a past wound, unable to move on because its pain was never truly witnessed and acknowledged. The futurist of anxiety is a child standing in an unstable home, desperately trying to control the future to avoid being hurt again. To fight these voices, to push them away, to condemn them for their noise, is to re-injure these lost parts of yourself. It is to tell the lost child at your door to go away, that its message is unwelcome. And what happens? The child just rings the doorbell louder, more desperately. Fighting the echoes only gives them more power. Instead, we must learn to listen in a new way. Imagine your consciousness is a vast, ancient mirror that has been lying face down in the dirt for 1,000 years. With great effort, you have finally lifted it and set it upright. But you cannot see your reflection. All you can see are thick, caked-on layers of dust and grime. This is what you are experiencing now. The echoes are the layers of dust. Each judgment, each fear, each regret is a film of dirt obscuring the mirror's true nature, which is to perfectly reflect the light. Your first task is not to see your reflection. Your first task is to clean the mirror. And you do not clean an ancient precious mirror with a power hose or a wire brush. You clean it with patience, with gentleness, with a soft cloth, and a loving hand. Every time you notice an echo arise, and you choose not to fight it, not to believe it, but simply to observe it with gentle detachment, you are making one soft wipe across the surface of the mirror. You are not trying to obliterate the dust. You are simply acknowledging its presence and, in doing so, allowing it to be released. To help with this gentle cleaning, we can use a simple yet profoundly effective practice. It is the practice of noting or labeling. It is an act of gentle disidentification. When a thought or feeling arises, instead of becoming entangled in its story, you simply place a light mental label on it. As the voice of the critic begins its monologue, you can silently note judging or criticism arising. When a wave of sadness for a past event washes over you, you can note sadness or memory. When your mind races toward a future catastrophe, you can note worrying or planning. Notice the simplicity of this. You are not saying, "I am a bad person for having this thought." You are not analyzing why the thought is there. You are simply identifying its nature, like a bird watcher identifying a bird. There is a sparrow of worry. There is a hawk of judgment. This act creates a crucial space. A gap is formed between you, the observer, and the thought, the observed. In that gap, the thought loses its power over you. It is no longer an absolute truth defining your reality. It is simply a passing event in your consciousness, a cloud moving across the vast sky of your awareness. Practice this noting with a sense of curiosity, even tenderness. These are the energies that have been trapped inside you. Greet them with a quiet nod of recognition. Fear, I know you. Hello, regret, my old companion. Welcome, anger, I feel your heat. This does not mean you indulge them or let them run the show. It means you stop resisting their presence. Resistance is fuel for suffering. What you resist persists. What you look at with calm awareness begins to dissolve. As you sit with these echoes day after day, simply noting their arrival and their departure, something remarkable begins to happen. Their power begins to wane. The roar of the critic becomes a murmur. The sharp sting of regret becomes a dull ache. The frantic energy of anxiety becomes a background hum. The echoes may not vanish completely, for they are part of the human experience, but they no longer occupy the center of the stage. They are no longer the tyrannical rulers of your inner kingdom. They become what they truly are: fleeting weather patterns, passing clouds, transient energies that rise and fall in the vast, unbreakable container of your awareness. This is the essential process of clearing the space. You have stood your ground in the face of your own ghosts. You have learned not to run, but to watch. You have learned to be the sky, not the storm. The layers of dust on the mirror are beginning to thin. For the first time, you might catch a glimpse of something else, a faint glimmer of the light that the mirror was always meant to reflect. You are becoming sensitive to a different order of sound, a deeper stratum of your own being. Having faced the loudest and most insistent voices, you have earned the ability to listen more deeply. You have cleared the static. Now, you are ready to begin the delicate process of tuning the dial, of learning to distinguish the residual noise of the personality from the true resonant sound of the soul. Having weathered the first storm, you now stand on a different shore. The roar of the most prominent echoes has subsided, replaced by a quiet that is far more complex than you imagined. This new silence is not empty, it is populated. It is a subtle landscape of whispers, feelings, impulses, and deep, formless knowing. The initial challenge was to endure the noise. The new challenge, a far more delicate art, is to discern the nature of what remains. It is the task of learning to distinguish the last vestiges of static from the first notes of the true music. For within this inner world, not all that is quiet is peace, and not all that speaks is truth. You must now become a connoisseur of consciousness, a navigator who can tell the difference between the phantom lights of the ego and the steady, guiding star of the soul. This is the art of distinguishing noise from sound. First, let us understand the signature of noise. Noise, even in its subtler forms, is the voice of fear and separation. It is the lingering echo of the conditioned mind. Its primary characteristic is a sense of urgency and demand. It feels forceful, insistent, and often comes with a complex story attached, a web of reasons, justifications, and logical arguments. Noise is a strategist. It calculates, it analyzes, it weighs pros and cons based entirely on past data, your past pains, your past failures, your past fears. It speaks in the language of shoulds and musts. It tells you what you should do to be safe, what you must do to be accepted, what you have to do to avoid failure. Its logic, while seemingly sound, is always rooted in a fundamental belief in lack and danger. Noise is the voice that compares, that competes, that judges. It sounds like the frantic clashing of metal, a harsh, grating frequency that puts your entire system on edge. It is the sound of a mind that believes it is alone and must fight for its survival. Listen closely to its texture. Noise is often circular. It leads you down the same well-worn mental pathways again and again. A hamster wheel of worry that gives the illusion of progress but ultimately leads nowhere new. It is loud in your head, a frantic inner monologue that narrates your life through a lens of criticism and anxiety. It creates intricate problems and then chastises you for not being able to solve them. It is inherently reactive, a knee-jerk response to external events or internal insecurities. When you are operating from the frequency of noise, you feel a sense of constriction, a tightening of your energy field. Your world feels smaller, your options fewer, your problems larger. Noise is the static on the radio station of your soul, a constant interference pattern that prevents you from hearing the clear broadcast that is always available. It is the voice of everything you are not, masquerading as a trusted advisor. Now, let us turn to the quality of sound. True sound is the voice of your authentic self, the resonance of your soul, the whisper of the universe speaking through you. Its primary characteristic is a sense of calm, clarity, and simplicity. It does not shout. It emerges quietly from the stillness. It does not argue or try to convince you with complex logic. It often arrives as a simple, direct knowing, a feeling, an image, or a few clear words. Sound does not operate from the data of the past. It operates from the timeless wisdom of the present moment. It does not speak of what you should do, but rather illuminates what you are. It doesn't offer a strategy based on fear. It reveals a path based on wholeness and alignment. It is the voice that connects, that accepts, that loves. It sounds like the pure, resonant tone of a bamboo flute in a silent valley, a note that doesn't demand your attention but effortlessly captures it with its beauty and truth. Feel its texture. Sound is expansive. It doesn't lead you in circles. It opens up new possibilities. It doesn't create problems. It offers a perspective from which problems dissolve. Where noise is loud in the head, sound is felt deep in the body, often in the heart or the gut. It is a feeling of rightness, of peace, of homecoming. Sound is not reactive. It is responsive. It arises from a place of deep stillness and wisdom, responding to a situation with exactly what is needed, which is often far simpler than the mind could ever conceive. When you are attuned to the frequency of sound, your energy field feels open and relaxed. Your world feels larger, filled with possibility and grace. Sound is the clear signal. It is the music itself. It has been playing eternally, waiting patiently for you to clear the static, to stop wrestling with the noise, and to simply, finally, listen. Herein lies a new inner conflict. The mind, through years of conditioning, has become habituated to the frequency of noise. The frantic energy of worry, the drama of self-criticism, the familiar ache of regret. These states, though painful, are known territory. They feel like home in a strange way. There is a perverse comfort in the familiar prison. To consciously choose to listen for sound requires a letting go. It requires you to abandon the familiar, addictive drama of the ego's narrative. It is the choice to trust a quiet, simple knowing over a loud, complex argument. It is the willingness to feel uncertain, to not have all the answers calculated in your head, and to instead rest in the wisdom of your heart. The ego will fight this. It will call the quiet voice of sound naive, simplistic, and irresponsible. It will insist that its own noisy, fear-based calculations are the only way to navigate the world. Your task is to see this resistance for what it is, the last stand of a phantom king who is terrified of losing his throne. This leads us to the most vital distinction of all. Noise demands your attention. Sound invites your presence. Noise is a tyrant. It grabs you by the collar. It screams in your face. It manufactures a crisis and insists that you drop everything and focus on it right now. It is the ultimate drama queen, thriving on your agitated engagement. Sound is a sage. It sits quietly under a tree, perfectly at peace. It does not need you to notice it. Its wisdom is available if you choose to approach, to sit down, and to become still enough to receive it. It makes no demands. It simply offers its presence. Noise is the product of a mind disconnected from its source, a frantic engine generating thought patterns based on fear. Sound is the natural resonance of a mind connected to the heart, to the vast intelligence of your entire being. One comes from frantic calculation, the other from serene communion. So how, in a practical sense, do you use this knowledge? How do you reliably tell the difference when you are in the midst of life's choices? The mind can be deceived, but the body holds the truth. Your body is the ultimate compass, the infallible resonance chamber. The next time you are faced with a decision, or when a strong inner voice is guiding you, perform this simple practice. Pause, take a breath. Deliberately move your attention out of the noisy attic of your head and bring it down into the core of your body. Focus on the area of your throat, your chest, and your stomach. Now, consider the thought or the path being presented, and ask your body one simple question. Does this feel like expansion or contraction? Pay close attention to the immediate, subtle, physical sensation. Noise, the voice of fear, of should, of pressure, will almost invariably create a feeling of contraction, a tightening in your throat, a clenching in your solar plexus, a subtle closing or hardening around your heart. It feels like a no, even if the mind is screaming yes. Sound, the voice of truth, intuition, and alignment, will create a feeling of expansion, a lightness in your chest, a release in your stomach, a feeling of openness, of warmth, of flow. It feels like a yes, even if the mind is full of doubts. This bodily compass will never lie to you. It is the direct perception of energy, and it will guide you more truly than the most sophisticated mental argument. By practicing this discernment, you are honing a skill of immense power. You are no longer a ship without a rudder, tossed about by every inner current. You are becoming the captain of your own vessel, able to read the true winds and navigate by the steady stars. You are learning to trust the profound intelligence that exists beyond the narrow confines of your thinking mind. The mirror of your consciousness, having been gently wiped clean of the thickest layers of dust, is now beginning to reflect with greater clarity. You can start to distinguish between the passing clouds of noise and the deep, clear sky of sound. This ability transforms silence. It is no longer a space you enter to confront your demons. It is a space you enter for communion, for guidance, for reconnection with your deepest truth. Silence is now becoming what it was always meant to be, a perfect mirror, ready to show you not just your fleeting expressions, but the timeless essence of who you truly are. And the most immediate and faithful part of that mirror is the very body you inhabit. We have spoken of listening, of discerning the subtle whispers of truth from the loud demands of fear. But where does this listening take place? The mind can be a deceptive hall of mirrors, endlessly reflecting its own biases. The heart can be obscured by the scar tissue of past pains. But there is one instrument in your possession that is incapable of deception. One oracle that speaks only the truth, always in the present moment. It is the very ground of your being, the earth of your physical form. It is your body. For too long, We have been taught to see our bodies as machines, as vehicles to carry our brains from one task to the next. We treat them as inconveniences, with their needs for sleep, their aches, their limitations. We fuel them with carelessness, push them past the point of exhaustion, and silence their protests with stimulants and pain relievers. We have become brilliant minds, chauffeuring around neglected, alienated bodies. We only pay attention when the machine breaks down, when the check engine light of disease begins to flash, and then we rush it to a mechanic, hoping for a quick fix so we can resume our neglect. This is a profound and tragic misunderstanding. Your body is not a machine. It is a miracle of sentient intelligence. It is not a mute servant. It is a sacred, living instrument of extraordinary sensitivity. It is a resonant chamber. Like the body of a finely crafted violin or cello, it is designed to feel, to vibrate, to turn the invisible energy of emotion and thought into the tangible reality of sensation and form. Every single one of the trillions of cells that constitute your physical being is listening. It is listening to the frequency of every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotion you entertain. Your body is the script, the physical manuscript upon which the story of your consciousness is written. It is the ultimate truth teller. This creates an internal conflict that defines the modern human condition. Your mind, driven by ambition, by fear, by societal pressure, declares, "We must push harder. We must work later. We must ignore the fatigue." It acts as a relentless taskmaster, whipping the horse forward long after it has grown weary. But the body speaks a different language. It speaks the language of energy, of limits, of truth. It whispers, "I am tired. I need rest." It aches, "This tension is becoming unbearable." It screams, "This situation is toxic to me." We have trained ourselves to be deaf to these whispers. We override the body's wisdom with the mind's willpower. We choose the abstract goal over the present moment reality. This is the core conflict, the tyranny of the conditioned mind versus the deep, instinctual wisdom of the living body. We have placed our trust in a calculating, fear-based intellect and have abandoned the far more profound intelligence that animates our very cells. The core message, the truth that can radically transform your relationship with your physical self, is this: your body does not lie, ever. It is the physical archive of your energetic state. The anxiety you feel is not just a thought. It is a flood of cortisol and adrenaline, a tightening of the diaphragm, a quickening of the pulse. It is a real, physical event. The unresolved grief from a decade ago is not just a sad memory. It may be a persistent ache in your chest, a chronic tightness in your throat, a heaviness in your limbs. The joy you feel is not an abstract concept. It is the release of endorphins, a relaxation of the facial muscles, a deepening of the breath. Every chronic state of mind, every dominant emotional frequency is diligently recorded and expressed in the tissues, the posture, and the chemistry of your body. Chronic stress, resentment, and fear are states of energetic dissonance. They are jarring, chaotic frequencies. When your body is forced to resonate with these frequencies day after day, year after year, it manifests this dissonance in the only way it can, as dis-ease. Illness, pain, and fatigue are not punishments. They are not random misfortunes, they are feedback. They are the body's final, desperate attempt to get your attention, to show you, in undeniable physical terms, that your chosen frequency of being is out of harmony with life itself. Imagine your body is a magnificent harp, with strings stretching from the soles of your feet to the crown of your head. Your thoughts and emotions are the fingers that play this harp, ceaselessly, day and night. When your mind is caught in loops of worry, fear, and self-criticism, your fingers are not gently plucking the strings, they are clawing at them, creating a frantic, discordant noise. This is the music of stress. The strings become overwrought, stretched too tight in some places, limp and unresponsive in others. This is the physical reality of muscular tension. of hormonal imbalance, of a compromised immune system. The harp is producing a painful, jarring sound, and we call that sound sickness. Conversely, when your mind is centered in a state of gratitude, love, and acceptance, your fingers move across the strings with grace and intention. They pluck out a melody that is harmonious, resonant, and beautiful. This is the music of well-being. The strings vibrate at their optimal tension, creating a frequency that is coherent and life-affirming. This is the physical reality of a balanced nervous system, of deep rest, of cellular regeneration. Your health is not a commodity to be purchased. It is the melody you are playing on the instrument of your own body. So, how do we learn to listen to this instrument? How do we begin to read this physical manuscript? We do it by undertaking the most intimate of journeys. We practice the art of the body scan. This is not a mechanical checklist. It is a profound pilgrimage of homecoming for your awareness. It is the act of returning your attention, after a long exile in the noisy realm of thought, back to its original home. The feeling, sensing, living reality of your physical form. Find a time and place where you can lie down comfortably and undisturbed. Close your eyes. For the first few moments, simply be aware of the fact that you have a body. Feel its weight against the surface beneath you. Feel the gentle, rhythmic motion of your breathing without trying to change it. You are simply arriving. Then, gently, bring your focus to the toes of your left foot. You are not thinking about your toes, you are feeling them from the inside. Bring a soft, curious, loving awareness to this small part of yourself. What sensations are present here? Warmth, coolness, tingling, numbness, pulsing. There is no right or wrong answer. Your only task is to feel, without judgment. Spend some time here, bathing your toes in this gentle attention. Then, slowly, like a soft wave of light, allow your awareness to move up to the sole of your foot, the heel, the ankle. You are not rushing. You are exploring a sacred landscape that has been waiting patiently for your return. Continue this slow journey up your left leg, through the calf, the shin, the knee, the thigh. In each area, you are simply asking, what is here? You are listening to the subtle language of sensation. If you encounter an area of tension or pain, do not try to fix it. Do not resist it. Instead, do the opposite. Breathe into it. Surround the sensation with your warm, accepting awareness, as if you were holding a frightened bird in your hands. This act of non-resistant attention is itself profoundly healing. Continue this journey through your entire body. Up your right leg, through your pelvis, your abdomen, your lower back areas where we hold so much stress and unprocessed emotion. Move through your chest, your heart center, feeling the subtle movements of your breath and heartbeat. Travel down your arms, through your hands, to the very tips of your fingers. Finally, move through your neck, your shoulders, your jaw, the epicenters of tension, and across your face, ending at the crown of your head. When you have completed the scan, rest for a few moments in an awareness of your body as a whole, a single, unified field of sensation, gently breathing, humming with life. This practice, done regularly, will transform your relationship with your body. You will become exquisitely sensitive to its signals. You will start to notice the immediate physical impact of a stressful thought or a difficult conversation. You will feel the instant relaxation that comes from a moment of genuine gratitude. Your body will cease to be a foreign object and will become your most trusted friend, your wisest counselor, your most accurate barometer of truth. You have learned to distinguish noise from sound by listening to the expansive or contractive feelings in your core. The body scan is the deep dive into this practice. It is the systematic training of your awareness to read the rich and detailed language of your physical being. You are learning that your body is the resonant chamber, the soundboard that faithfully amplifies the music of your soul. It is the ultimate litmus test for energetic alignment. And once you have accepted this, Once you have begun to truly inhabit and listen to this miraculous instrument, a vital question naturally arises. If the body is the harp, what fingers are playing it? What is the origin of the frequencies that create the melody of your health or the dissonance of your illness? The answer lies in the invisible, powerful realm from which all experience is born, the frequency of thought itself. We have arrived at the source. We have identified the body as the sacred instrument, the resonant chamber that turns vibration into the physical reality of health or illness. We now stand before the musician, the unseen artist whose fingers play upon these strings moment by moment, composing the symphony of our lives. This musician is the thinking mind, and its fingers are your thoughts. We tend to perceive our thoughts as harmless, ephemeral things, a kind of benign inner commentary that is private and inconsequential. This is perhaps the most profound misunderstanding that keeps humanity in bondage. A thought is not a whisper in a vacuum. A thought is an act of creation. Every single thought that arises in your mind is a pulse of energy, a distinct vibrational frequency that you broadcast into the universe and, most immediately, into every cell of your own body. It is a command. A thought of fear is a command to your body to produce the chemistry of fear. A thought of gratitude is a command to your body to produce the chemistry of blissful reception. Thoughts are the invisible architects of your tangible reality. When a single thought is repeated over and over, it ceases to be a fleeting event and becomes a structure. It carves a pathway in the brain, making it easier for the next similar thought to follow. This is the birth of a belief, a mood, a personality trait. Your habitual thought patterns, the ones you return to day after day, weave together to form your personal energy field. This is not a mystical concept. It is a palpable reality. You have felt it. You have walked into a room and felt the heavy, oppressive atmosphere created by a person lost in thoughts of resentment and anger. You have felt the light, uplifting presence of someone who habitually cultivates thoughts of joy and compassion. This energetic weather is the direct result of their inner dialogue. It is the frequency they are broadcasting. This personal field becomes the lens through which you perceive the world, and more importantly, it is the magnetic signal that draws experiences of a similar frequency to you. A mind that constantly broadcasts the frequency of "I am a victim" will find evidence of its victimhood everywhere. A mind that broadcasts the frequency of "Life is a gift" will find evidence of blessings in the most humble of places. Your thoughts are not just describing your reality, they are actively creating it. Here we face one of the most stubborn inner conflicts, the battle between the gravitational pull of habitual thought and the conscious desire for change. Your mind is like a vast landscape, and for years, your thoughts have flowed like water, carving deep canyons of rumination. There is a canyon of self-criticism, a canyon of worry, a canyon of scarcity. These neural pathways are so deep, so well established, that your mental energy flows into them automatically. You may wake up with the best intentions, but before you know it, you find your thoughts once again trekking through the familiar, gloomy canyon of anxiety. Trying to wrench your thoughts out of this groove feels like an immense effort. It is like trying to push a river uphill. The magnetic pull of the old habit is immense, and the mind, in its desire for efficiency, loves to take the path of least resistance. This is why positive thinking alone so often fails. You cannot simply stand at the edge of the canyon and shout affirmations while the river of your unconscious mind continues to roar through its depths. The conflict is between the autopilot of your past conditioning and the focused, intentional presence required to blaze a new trail, to carve a new riverbed. The liberation from this prison, the key that unlocks the shackles of the mind, is one of the most powerful truths ever discovered by humankind. It is the realization that you are not your thoughts. Read those words again. Let them sink beneath the level of intellect and land in the core of your being. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that is aware of your thoughts. You are the silent, spacious consciousness in which the thoughts appear and disappear. Thoughts are passing objects. They are clouds drifting through the vast sky of your awareness. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. You have never been the clouds. For your entire life, you have been the sky, mistakenly believing you were a small, dark storm cloud. The moment you grasp this, truly grasp it, the entire power dynamic of your inner world shifts. As long as you are identified with your thoughts, as long as you believe the voice in your head is you, you are their slave. You are tossed about by their every whim. But the instant you disidentify, the instant you step back and take the seat of the observer, you become their master. You are no longer the actor lost in the drama. You are the audience, watching the play with a sense of compassionate detachment. Let us use two metaphors to make this freedom tangible. First, imagine your mind is a fertile garden. For most of your life, you have left the gate open. The winds of culture, of upbringing, of media, have blown all sorts of random seeds into your garden. Seeds of fear, seeds of doubt, seeds of inadequacy, seeds of comparison. Unattended, these seeds have sprouted into thorny, invasive weeds. They have grown so thick and tangled that they choke out the light and prevent anything beautiful from growing. The spiritual path is not about frantically trying to rip out every weed, an exhausting and endless task. It is about becoming the master gardener of your own mind. You begin by choosing to stop watering the weeds. You stop giving them your focus, your belief, your precious energy. And then, with great intention, you begin to plant new seeds. You choose to plant a seed of gratitude. You choose to plant a seed of self-compassion. You choose to plant a seed of trust. At first, they are just tiny shoots, struggling for light amongst the towering weeds. But as you nurture them, as you give them your conscious attention, they grow stronger, until eventually your garden begins to transform from a tangled thicket into a place of beauty and nourishment. Or, consider this timeless piece of wisdom. You cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can prevent it from building a nest in your hair. The birds are your thoughts. The sky is your mind. Thoughts will always fly through. The goal of a conscious life is not to create an empty sky, an impossible task which only leads to frustration. The goal is to become discerning about which birds you allow to land and build a nest. A thought of judgment flies by. In the past, you would have caught it, identified with it, and allowed it to build a messy nest of resentment in your mind. Now, as the observer, you simply notice it. Ah, a bird of judgment. You watch it fly by without giving it a place to land. A moment later, a thought of gratitude flies by. This one, you welcome. You invite it to land. You give it your attention. You feel its warmth, and you allow it to build a nest of peace and well-being. This is the practice. Not controlling the arising of thoughts, but consciously choosing which thoughts you will engage with and empower. To aid in this practice of choosing, of carving a new neural pathway, we can use the powerful tool of a mantra or an affirmation. A mantra is not a form of self-deception. It is a tool for conscious frequency shifting. When you find yourself caught in the gravitational pull of a negative thought loop, for instance, the familiar canyon of "I am not enough," do not fight the thought directly. That is like wrestling with a ghost. It only depletes you. Instead, you introduce a competing vibration. You begin to repeat your chosen mantra, a phrase that resonates with the state you wish to embody. It could be as simple as, "I am peace," or "I trust the process of life," or "all is well." As you repeat the phrase, you are not trying to force yourself to believe it. You are simply using it as a rudder, a focal point to gently steer your awareness away from the old painful groove and toward the new one you are creating. The mantra is a tuning fork. You strike it, and its frequency begins to resonate through your being, gently calling the dissonant strings of your body and mind back into harmony. It is an anchor in the storm of the thinking mind, a steady hum that reminds you of the peace that is always available beneath the noise. By taking up this practice, you are stepping into your true power as a conscious creator. you are no longer a passive victim of your mind's conditioned habits. You are the gardener, the sky, the master of the nest. You are choosing the frequency you wish to broadcast. You are consciously selecting the notes that the musician will play. And as you change the music of your thoughts, you change the resonance in the sacred chamber of your body. You are composing a new symphony, a symphony of well-being, of clarity, of peace. But thought, as powerful as it is only the musical score. It is the black and white notation on the page. To truly bring the music to life, it needs another dimension. It needs the color, the passion, the power that turns a simple note into a living, breathing experience. It needs the energetic charge that is inextricably linked to every thought. It needs the sound of emotion. If thought is the silent architectural score of our reality, then emotion is the sound that brings it to life. Emotion is the resonant power, the vibrant color, the palpable energy that animates the black and white notation of a thought and turns it into a living symphony or a chaotic dirge. A thought of loss is merely a concept, but it is the emotion of grief that gives it its crushing weight. A thought of affection is a pleasant idea, but it is the emotion of love that gives it its expansive, life-altering power. We cannot speak of frequency and vibration without bowing to the immense force of our emotional world, for emotion is the very medium through which frequency is most profoundly felt and expressed in the human experience. We have been taught to fear this force, to categorize it, to control it. But to truly heal, we must first understand its true nature. The word itself is a map. Emotion, energy in motion. Emotion is not a psychological flaw or a personality trait, it is a physical event. It is a specific pattern of energy moving through the sacred instrument of your body. Each primary emotion has a unique vibrational signature, a distinct frequency that can be felt and even measured. Think of fear. Its frequency is rapid, chaotic, and jagged. It is a low, dense vibration that feels like constriction. When you are in a state of fear, your energy field literally shrinks. Your muscles tighten, your vision narrows. It is the frequency of survival, of separation, of a universe perceived as hostile. Now consider the frequency of gratitude or deep love. It is a slow, coherent, sine-like wave. It is a high, light vibration that feels like expansion. When you are in this state, your energy field opens up, your body relaxes, your heart feels warm and full. It is the frequency of unity, of trust, of a universe perceived as benevolent. Anger has a hot, explosive, outward-moving energy. Grief has a heavy, cold, inward-pulling energy. Joy feels like bubbles of light rising effervescently through your being. These are not poetic descriptions. They are attempts to articulate the direct, physical experience of different frequencies moving through the resonant chamber of your body. Our entire society is built upon a fundamental conflict with this natural flow of energy. From a very young age, we are taught that some of these frequencies are acceptable and others are not. Joy, happiness, excitement. These are the good emotions. We are encouraged to display and pursue them. Anger, sadness, fear, grief, these are the bad emotions. We are taught to suppress them, to hide them, to manage them. Big boys don't cry, don't be so sensitive, calm down. With the best of intentions, we are taught to build dams within our own nervous systems to stop the flow of these uncomfortable energies. When anger rises, we swallow it. When grief comes, we distract ourselves. When fear appears, we numb it. But energy cannot be destroyed. The river of emotion, when dammed, does not simply disappear. It pools, it stagnates, it putrefies. This trapped, unresolved emotional energy becomes the chronic tension in your shoulders, the persistent knot in your stomach, the unexplained fatigue in your limbs. The inner conflict is this. Your soul knows that all energy must be allowed to move, while your conditioned personality frantically tries to police and control which energies are permissible. This internal war is the source of immense suffering and physical dis-ease. Here we arrive at a liberating truth that can end this war. Emotions are not good or bad. They are simply information. They are intelligent signals from your deeper self, designed to provide you with feedback. They are the indicator lights on the dashboard of your being. Anger is a light that flashes to tell you a boundary has been violated or an injustice has occurred. Sadness is a light that indicates a meaningful loss that needs to be mourned. Fear is a light that signals a perceived threat that requires your cautious attention. To suppress the emotion is like putting black tape over the indicator light. The signal is silenced, but the underlying issue remains unaddressed, and the car will eventually break down. Healing, therefore, is not the impossible goal of getting rid of your negative emotions. You will never, and should never, achieve a state where you no longer feel anger, sadness, or fear. They are vital parts of your human guidance system. True healing is learning to raise your own baseline vibrational frequency, the fundamental note of your being, so that you are no longer overwhelmed and controlled by these energetic signals. You learn to honor the information they carry without becoming lost in their storm. This is where the metaphor of the weather becomes our most powerful guide. Your true self, your core consciousness, is the sky. It is vast, open, clear, and fundamentally peaceful. It is always present, always whole, always untouched. Your emotions are the weather. Sometimes, a dark thunderstorm of rage passes through the sky. Sometimes, a gentle, cleansing rain of sadness falls for days. Sometimes, a thick fog of confusion or fear descends, obscuring all visibility. And sometimes, the sky is filled with the brilliant, warm sunshine of joy. Our conditioned mistake is that when the thunderstorm rages, we forget we are the sky and believe we are the storm. We identify with the anger, we become the sadness, we are lost in the fear. The entire practice of emotional mastery is to cultivate the capacity to remember, in the midst of any weather pattern, that you are the sky. The sky does not fight the storm. It does not judge the rain or cling to the sunshine. It simply allows the weather to be what it is, to move through its vastness, knowing that its own nature remains unchanged. The storm, no matter how violent, eventually passes. The sun, no matter how brilliant, eventually sets, but the sky remains. By learning to be the sky, you allow the energy of your emotions to move through you, rather than getting stuck in you. To cultivate this capacity, we need a practice that goes beyond intellectual understanding. We need an embodied practice of feeling in order to heal. The next time you feel a strong, difficult emotion begin to rise, resist the lifelong urge to escape into your head to analyze it, to blame someone for it, to spin a story around it. Resist the urge to distract yourself with your phone, with food, with work. Instead, be courageous, be still, and turn your awareness inward. The first step is to simply name the primary energy. This is anger. This is grief. This is fear. Use a simple label without the accompanying story. The second step is to locate it in your body. Where does this energy live? Is it a hot pressure in your chest? A hollow ache in your stomach? A tight band around your head? A weakness in your knees? Be a curious scientist of your inner world. Pinpoint its physical location. The third step is a radical act of self-compassion. Gently place your hand on that part of your body. Your hand is a conduit of your own warm, conscious presence. It is a gesture that says, I am here. I am not running away. I am willing to be with this. The fourth and final step is to breathe. Breathe into the sensation. Imagine your breath as a wave of gentle, healing energy, flowing directly into the heart of the tightness or the ache. You are not trying to push the feeling away. You are creating space around it. You are giving it permission to exist, to be felt fully, without judgment. As you stay with this practice, something miraculous occurs. The energy, once it is fully met with your accepting presence, begins to change. The tight knot of anger may transform into a wave of heat that dissipates. The heavy lump of grief may dissolve into the cleansing tears you were never allowed to cry. The frantic vibration of anxiety may soften into a gentle trembling that slowly subsides. You are allowing the river to flow again. You are letting the storm expend its energy. You have not conquered the emotion. You have honored it. You have allowed it to deliver its message and complete its natural energetic cycle. This is the art of emotional alchemy. You are not a victim of your feelings. You are the loving, spacious container in which they are allowed to rise, to be, and to pass. By learning to work with emotion as energy, you are developing one of the most essential skills for a conscious life. You are moving from a state of resistance to a state of flow. You understand now that thoughts provide the score, the structure, and emotions provide the energy, the power that drives the music. You are learning to be both the composer and the conductor of your own symphony. But we can go deeper still. Beneath the ever-changing thoughts and beneath the powerful currents of emotion, there is a sound that is more fundamental. It is the baseline frequency of your being, the steady, foundational hum from which both thoughts and emotions arise. It is the quiet, unwavering intelligence that beats your heart and breathes your breath. It is the wisdom that exists before words. This is the hum of the heart. We have journeyed through the turbulent landscapes of the mind, learning to witness our thoughts without becoming them. We have navigated the powerful currents of the body, learning to feel our emotions without being drowned by them. Now, we arrive at the center. We move deeper than the intricate architecture of thought, deeper than the kinetic energy of emotion, to the very source from which true guidance flows. We arrive at the heart. In our modern world, we have relegated the heart to a symbol of sentimentality, the domain of poets and lovers. In the scientific view, it is a magnificent biological pump, a vital piece of machinery. Both views, while true in their own way, miss the profound reality. The heart is the seat of a different kind of intelligence, an intelligence that is not computational, but intuitive, not analytical, but holistic. It is the silent, knowing center of your being. Science is beginning to catch up to the wisdom of the ancients. We now know that the heart generates the most powerful and extensive rhythmic electromagnetic field in the body. It is about 60 times greater in amplitude than the electrical activity generated by the brain, and it can be detected several feet away from the body in all directions. This is not a metaphor. It is a measurable physical field of energy that you are broadcasting with every beat. Furthermore, the heart contains its own intrinsic nervous system, a complex network of neurons sophisticated enough to be called a heart brain. This heart brain can learn, remember, and make decisions independently of the brain in your head. In fact, the heart sends far more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart, profoundly influencing brain function, perception, and emotional experience. The heart is not just a pump. It is a center of perception and intelligence. This discovery reveals the physiological basis for the oldest conflict in the human story, the battle between the head and the heart. The head, the rational mind, is a magnificent tool. It operates on logic, on data, on the evidence of past experience. It creates pro and con lists, it analyzes risks, it strategizes for survival based on the known. Its primary motivation is safety and the avoidance of pain. It is the frantic navigator on the ship of your life, constantly consulting old maps, worrying about reports of sea monsters, and trying to calculate the safest possible route to a predetermined destination. The heart, however, speaks a completely different language. It does not calculate. It knows. Its intelligence does not arise from data, but from a direct, resonant connection to the whole. It speaks in the quiet language of intuition, of gut feelings, of hunches, of a simple, unadorned sense of yes or no. Our entire upbringing and education has trained us to trust the loud, anxious voice of the navigator in our head and to dismiss the quiet, steady voice of the heart as foolish, naive, or irrational. You know this conflict intimately. It is the job that looks perfect on paper, that your mind tells you to take, but that your heart feels a cold dread about. It is the relationship that your mind has 1,000 reasons to end, but that your heart feels a deep, quiet pull to stay and heal. This is the war between calculation and knowing. Here we uncover the core message, the secret to navigating this inner conflict. The mind's voice is a shout, the heart's voice is a whisper. We miss the guidance of our hearts not because it isn't there, but because we are listening for the wrong kind of sound. We are waiting for a logical argument, a reasoned debate, but the heart does not speak in paragraphs. It speaks in resonance. It speaks in peace. The guidance of the mind is often complex and fraught with anxiety. You should do this, but what if that happens? And then you'll have to deal with this other thing. The guidance of the heart is almost always simple and peaceful, even if it leads you toward a path that seems difficult. The voice of the heart is the quiet hum beneath the noise of the personality. You cannot hear it when you are lost in the storm of your thoughts. You can only perceive it when you have cultivated inner stillness, when you have allowed the frantic shouts of the mind to subside. And here is its guarantee. The guidance of the heart will always, without exception, lead you toward a more authentic, more whole, and more expansive version of yourself. It is the voice of your own soul, gently calling you home. To make this tangible, let us embrace the metaphor of the heart as an inner compass. Imagine this compass is installed deep within you. Its needle is forged from the deepest truth of your being, and it is magnetized to your own authentic north, your unique purpose, your highest path. This compass is flawless. It is not affected by the weather. The storms of emotion can rage. The winds of other people's opinions can howl. The fog of your own confusion can descend. But the needle of the compass remains utterly still, silently and steadfastly pointing north. The mind, our frantic navigator, does not trust this compass. It is too simple, too quiet. So the mind spreads out its crumpled maps of past hurts and future fears. It listens to the chaotic chatter of the crew. It plots and replots the course, sending the ship lurching in one direction and then another, often going in circles. The great work of a conscious life is to learn to withdraw your trust from the frantic, fearful navigator and place it entirely in the silent, steady compass. It is to have the courage to set a course based on a quiet inner knowing, even when the mind is screaming that it is illogical and dangerous. Your heart knows the way. Your only job is to learn to read the compass. Learning to read this compass requires practice. It requires learning how to create a state of inner coherence where the signal from the heart can be clearly perceived. We can do this through a simple, powerful meditation. Find a comfortable place to sit, gently close your eyes. The first step is to shift your focus. Willingly move your attention from the usual chatter in your head and bring it down into the center of your chest, the physical location of your heart. Place your hand there if it helps you to anchor your focus. The second step is to shift your breathing. Begin to breathe a little more slowly and deeply than you normally would. Imagine that you are breathing in and out directly through your heart center. Imagine your breath is a gentle wave flowing into your heart and then flowing back out into the world. Find a gentle, easy rhythm. The third step is to activate a regenerative feeling. This is the key. Deliberately call to mind a feeling of sincere gratitude or appreciation. It can be for anything: a loved one, a pet, the beauty of a sunset, a moment of peace you once felt. Don't just think about it. Truly try to feel the sensation of gratitude in your chest. Feel the warmth, the softness, the expansion. As you sit for a few minutes, focusing on your heart, breathing through your heart, and feeling a state of gratitude in your heart, you are performing a profound act of energetic alchemy. You are harmonizing the rhythms of your heart, your nervous system, and your brain. You are creating a state of heart coherence. In this state, the noisy, chaotic signals of the mind naturally begin to quiet down. The frantic navigator takes a rest, and in the resulting stillness, the hum of the heart, the whisper of its intelligence, becomes audible. This practice is how you tune your inner radio to the frequency of your own soul. It is how you clean the compass, so you can see its needle clearly. It is the most direct path back to your own deepest knowing. By cultivating this connection, you are aligning with the very center of your being. You are learning that beneath the transient layers of thought and the powerful waves of emotion, there is a steady, quiet, and wise presence that is your ultimate guide. The hum of the heart is the fundamental note of your personal symphony, the keynote from which all true harmony can be built. This wisdom, this understanding of the heart as a center of intelligence and of sound as a force for alignment, is not a New Age invention. It is ancient. The oldest spiritual traditions and civilizations on Earth knew this. They may have used different language, different symbols, but they understood the profound connection between frequency, consciousness, and healing. They developed entire systems based on this knowledge, using sacred sounds and specific frequencies to tune the human instrument and bring it into resonance with the hum of the heart and the symphony of the cosmos. And it is to this ancient, resonant wisdom that we now turn. Having tuned our awareness to the subtle, steady hum of the heart, we find ourselves connected to a wisdom that feels both deeply personal and profoundly ancient. This feeling is no accident, for the intelligence of the heart is not a modern discovery. It is a timeless truth, a wisdom known and revered by the great spiritual traditions and esoteric schools of antiquity. These ancient cultures perceived the universe in a fundamentally different way than we do, where we see a cosmos of silent, empty space dotted with physical objects. They perceived a living, breathing, sounding universe. They understood that the fundamental fabric of reality was not matter, but vibration. They knew that everything, from the grand, slow dance of a galaxy to the frantic spinning of an electron, from the structure of a crystal to the architecture of a human soul, was an expression of frequency, a note in a divine and cosmic song. This was not a philosophy. It was a direct perception. They listened to the world. To the modern mind, this can sound like poetry or superstition. We are the children of the Enlightenment, trained to trust only what can be quantified, dissected, and proven in a laboratory. Our consciousness is conditioned to be skeptical. It demands evidence, double-blind studies, repeatable results. It asks, where is the proof? This is the mind's attempt to feel safe in a world it can measure and control. There is no fault in this. It is a product of our time. But in our quest for empirical certainty, we have forgotten another way of knowing, a way of knowing that is not based on external measurement, but on internal resonance. The ancient mind did not ask for proof. It sought harmony. It trusted the direct experience of the body, the deep knowing of the heart, and the subtle feedback of the soul. It understood that some truths are not meant to be proven, but to be felt. Here we stand at the crossroads of a profound inner conflict, the need for intellectual validation versus the courage to trust our own direct experience. The mind wants a guarantee before it will allow a new belief to enter. The soul invites you to have the experience first, and to let the belief arise naturally from that felt reality. The exploration of ancient frequencies is an invitation to temporarily suspend the mind's demand for proof and to engage in a personal experiment of pure resonance. The laboratory is your own body. The data is your own felt sense of peace, clarity, and well-being. The proof will not be found in a scientific journal, but in the subtle, positive shifts within your own state of being. It is an invitation to trust that you, yourself, are the ultimate instrument for verifying the truth. The core message of these ancient traditions is that the universe is built upon a foundation of sacred geometry and mathematics. The cosmos is not a chaotic accident, but a divinely ordered masterpiece, and this order can be expressed as number, as shape, and as sound. Within this understanding, certain frequencies were considered to be foundational, the core creative tones that underpin the structure of reality. The most well-known of these is the ancient solfeggio scale, a six-tone scale that was central to the sacred music of the early church, particularly in Gregorian chants. It was believed that these specific tones had the power to impart spiritual blessings, to heal deep wounds, and to facilitate a direct connection with the divine. These are not just random notes. Each frequency is a mathematical key, a sonic code that corresponds to a specific dimension of our being. 528 Hertz, for example, is famously known as the frequency of transformation and miracles, the note said to repair the very blueprint of our DNA. 417 Hertz is the note of facilitating change, a frequency that helps to cleanse traumatic experiences and clear destructive influences. 396 Hertz is the frequency of liberation, a sound that helps to release deep-seated patterns of guilt and fear. They are sonic keys, each one designed to unlock a specific energetic chamber within you. Let us use the metaphor of the tuning fork. Your being, body, mind, and spirit is an extraordinarily complex instrument, like a grand piano with thousands of strings. Throughout your life, experiences of trauma, stress, fear, and grief have caused many of these strings to become out of tune. Some are too tight, vibrating with the harshness of anxiety. Others are too loose, resonating with the dullness of depression. This inner dissonance is what we experience as suffering. The ancient solfeggio frequencies are like a set of perfect, eternally accurate tuning forks for the soul. When you sit in a quiet space and listen to a pure 528 Hertz tone, it is as if a perfect tuning fork for love or wholeness is being struck next to you. The principle of physics, known as sympathetic resonance, comes into play. If the corresponding wholeness string within you is out of tune, it will be naturally entrained by the pure, powerful vibration of the tuning fork. It will begin to vibrate in sympathy with the perfect external tone. This gentle, persistent resonance coaxes your inner string back into its true harmonious state. Healing, in this context, is not an act of force or will. It is a passive process of resonant reattunement. You are not fixing the instrument. You are simply providing it with the perfect note and allowing it to remember its own harmony. The practical application of this wisdom is beautifully simple. It does not require effort or striving. It requires only receptivity. Find a recording of these pure tones or music composed in these specific frequencies. Many are readily available. Choose a time when you can be quiet and undisturbed. Lie down or sit comfortably. Put on a good pair of headphones and simply listen. The most important instruction is this: do not try to do anything. Do not try to analyze the sound. Do not listen for a melody or a beat in the way you would with conventional music. Do not try to force a feeling of healing or peace. Your only task is to be a passive receiver. Imagine your body as a sponge and the sound is water. Simply allow the vibrations to permeate you. Feel them in your ears, in your chest, in your bones. Let the sound wash over you and through you without any agenda. Your conscious mind does not need to understand the process. Your body's innate intelligence and your energy field know exactly what to do with these pure, coherent frequencies. Your job is to get your thinking mind out of the way and to create a space of pure, receptive allowance. This is healing through being, not through doing. As you engage with this practice, you are participating in a form of sonic communion that is thousands of years old. You are aligning yourself with a stream of wisdom that understands healing not as a battle against disease, but as a return to harmony. You are providing your being with the fundamental organizing principles of the cosmos, encoded in the pure language of sound. You are learning to tune your own instrument, not with force, but with the gentle, persistent power of resonance. These ancient frequencies, these powerful sonic keys, are more than just therapeutic tools. They are a profound reminder that our own small lives are expressions of a much larger cosmic order. These are not just isolated, man-made notes. They are echoes of a grander music. They are the individual voices of the planets, the mathematical relationships between the stars, the resonant hum of the very fabric of existence. By learning to hear and integrate these individual tones, we are preparing ourselves to perceive the entire orchestra. We are moving from tuning our personal instrument to hearing the majestic sound of the universe as a symphony. We have tuned the strings of our inner instrument with the sonic keys of ancient frequencies. We have felt their resonance deep within ourselves, a gentle coaxing back toward harmony. But these notes, as powerful as they are not meant to be heard in isolation. A single, perfect note is beautiful, but its true meaning is only revealed when it takes its place within a larger composition. We have been working diligently within our own personal sound chamber, and now it is time to throw open the doors, to lift our heads, and to listen to the music that has been playing all around us since the beginning of time. It is time to move from the personal to the universal, from the note to the symphony. For the deepest ache in the human heart, the persistent underlying feeling of loneliness, is born from a single fundamental illusion, the illusion that we are separate. This feeling of separation is the core wound of the modern psyche. We feel it as a profound sense of being an isolated self, a fragile consciousness trapped inside a mortal body, adrift in a vast and indifferent cosmos. We look up at the night sky and feel a sense of awe, but it is often tinged with a terrifying sense of our own insignificance. We feel disconnected from each other, competing for resources, for attention, for love. We feel disconnected from the earth itself, treating it not as our living mother, but as a dead resource to be consumed. This feeling of being a solitary fragment in a shattered universe is the source of our deepest existential anxieties. It is the root of our need to prove ourselves, to accumulate, to build walls around our hearts and our homes. It is the pain of an orphan who has forgotten its family. This profound sense of alienation is the direct result of a story we have told ourselves, the story of the egocentric universe. In this story, humanity is the protagonist. We are the pinnacle of evolution, the sole possessors of consciousness, and the universe is merely the silent, passive stage upon which our human drama unfolds. It is a story of conquest and dominion, of man versus nature. But there is another story, a truer story, an ecocentric story that has been whispered by mystics and physicists alike. In this story, the universe is not a stage, it is a single living organism. It is a vast, intricate, and intelligent web of energy where every part is inextricably connected to every other part. In this story, we are not separate from nature. We are one of its countless, beautiful expressions. The conflict between these two stories is the conflict of our time. It is the battle between the illusion of the isolated, dominant ego and the truth of the interconnected, harmonious whole. The core message that resolves this conflict is breathtaking in its simplicity and scope. Everything in the universe is vibration. Everything is sound. There is no true silence. The vacuum of space is not empty. It is a plenum, teeming with energy fields and quantum fluctuations. Modern science, with its most sensitive instruments, has confirmed what the ancient rishis knew through deep meditation. Stars have resonant frequencies. They sing with seismic vibrations. The orbits of planets can be described as musical ratios, the musica universalis or music of the spheres that Pythagoras spoke of. Black holes merge with a cosmic chirp that can be detected as a gravitational wave across 1 billion light-years. The atoms that make up your body, the chair you are sitting on, the air you are breathing, are not solid, static things. They are vortices of energy, humming at specific frequencies. From the infrasonic hum of the Earth's magnetic field to the high-pitched song of a distant pulsar, the universe is a single, vast, and continuous symphonic performance. And you, who are made of the dust of long-dead stars, are not, and can never be, a mere spectator to this performance. You are an intrinsic part of it. Your loneliness is a perceptual error. In a universe made entirely of interconnected sound, separation is a physical impossibility. Let this truth wash over you. The universe is a great symphony orchestra. The unimaginably deep and slow vibrations of galactic superclusters form the baseline, the foundation of the entire piece. The steady rhythmic orbits of stars and planets are the percussion section, keeping the cosmic time. The brilliant soaring light of nebulae and quasars are the lyrical melodies of the string section. The swirling gases, the solar winds, the rustle of leaves on a million worlds, and the crash of waves on a billion shores are the woodwinds and the brass, adding texture and color. Every element, every force, every being has its part to play. Each one contributes its unique tone, its specific timbre, to the whole. And in this orchestra, no musician feels alone. The violinist does not feel separate from the cellist. She knows her melody finds its meaning in harmony with the cello's bass line. The percussionist does not feel insignificant. He knows he provides the very pulse that allows the melody to dance. Each player finds their purpose not in isolation, but in their relationship to the whole, in the sublime act of co-creating a harmony far grander than any single note. You do not need a telescope or a particle accelerator to experience this truth. The easiest way to remember your place in the orchestra is to immerse yourself in the local ensemble we call nature. Make it a conscious practice. Find a place away from the noise of human commerce. Go to the ocean, sit on the sand, close your eyes, and just listen. Do not just hear the waves. Feel their rhythm. Notice the ancient, steady pulse of their coming and going, a rhythm that has been playing for millions of years. Feel how your own breath naturally begins to sync with this rhythm. You are harmonizing with the ocean, or go deep into a forest. Stand still and listen to the symphony of the wind. Notice how it plays a different note through the pine needles than it does through the broad leaves of an oak. Notice the subtle percussion of a woodpecker, the scuttling of unseen creatures, the chorus of birds. You are not a visitor here. You are made of the same carbon, the same water, the same iron as the trees and the earth. You are a part of this ecosystem of sound. By consciously placing yourself in nature and listening with your whole being, you begin to dissolve the illusory boundary between self and other. You remember, on a cellular level, that you belong to this world, that your own inner hum is part of this larger, sacred chorus. This realization is the ultimate antidote to existential dread. You are not a cosmic orphan. You are not a meaningless accident in a silent, random universe. You are a vital and necessary musician in the most magnificent orchestra imaginable. Your every breath, your every heartbeat is a note in this symphony. The energy you carry, the frequency you emit, contributes to the overall harmony or dissonance of the whole. This is not a burden, but a profound honor. It imbues your life with a sense of immense purpose and belonging. You are woven into the very fabric of the cosmos, a unique and unrepeatable expression of its creative genius. You are a chord in the song of creation. And as this profound realization settles into your being, as you begin to feel the truth of your interconnectedness, a new question naturally arises. A question not of anxiety, but of curiosity and wonder. If I am indeed a musician in this grand orchestra, then what is my part? What is the unique note that only I can sound? What instrument am I meant to play? The grand and comforting truth has settled upon us. We are not isolated fragments in a silent void, but essential musicians in a vast cosmic symphony. This realization dissolves the ache of loneliness and replaces it with a profound sense of belonging. Yet, it immediately gives rise to a new question, a question that shifts from the cosmic to the deeply personal. It is the most vital question of a conscious life. If I am a musician in this divine orchestra, what is my part? What is the unique note that only I can sound? What is the sacred music that I and I alone am here to play? This question is not a burden to be carried, but a treasure to be uncovered. It is the beginning of the journey home to your most authentic self. To understand why this question so often feels confusing or unanswerable, we must first recognize that from the moment we were born, we were handed sheet music that was not our own. We were born into a world that immediately began to teach us a pre-written song. This is the song of our culture, our family, our education system. It is a song with very specific verses about what it means to be successful, what is considered valuable, and how a good life should be lived. We are taught the notes of conformity, the rhythm of expectation, and the harmony of fitting in. And because we are social creatures with a deep need to belong, we learn this borrowed song. We practice it diligently. We perform it for our parents, our teachers, our employers. We spend years, even decades of our lives, trying to perfect our rendition of somebody else's music. And yet, we feel a persistent, quiet dissonance. There is a feeling of being an imposter in our own lives, a nagging sense that the music we are making is hollow, that it lacks soul. This feeling is not a sign that you are broken. It is the most honest feedback your being can give you. It is the sound of your soul telling you, this is not my song. This is the great inner conflict that defines the search for purpose, the pull of external approval versus the soul's demand for authenticity. To play the borrowed song well is to receive the applause of the world. It brings rewards, financial security, social status, the approval of our peers. It makes us feel safe, accepted, and validated. And so we cling to it, even as it drains our life force. We fear that if we were to put down the official sheet music and begin to play the strange, unfamiliar melody that arises from within our own hearts, the audience would fall silent. They might disapprove. They might reject us. We might fail. This is the conflict between the safety of the known prison and the terrifying freedom of the unknown wilderness. It is the choice between disappointing the world and betraying your own soul. And for many, the fear of disappointing the world is so great that they live their entire lives playing a song they have come to hate, their own true music locked away inside them, a silent, aching grief. But your true note, your authentic frequency, is not something you need to invent or achieve. You do not need to become someone else to find your purpose. You need only to uncover what has been there all along. Your note is the inherent sound of your own unique nature. It is a chord composed of 3 distinct yet intertwined tones. The first tone is your natural talent. These are the abilities that are so native to you, you may not even recognize them as special. They are the things you do with an effortless grace, the skills you seem to possess without having to struggle. The second tone is your deep passion. These are the subjects and activities that ignite your curiosity, that fill you with a vibrant energy. These are the things you would do for free, simply for the love of doing them. The third tone is your core values. These are the principles that resonate as unshakably true in your heart, the qualities you most admire in others and wish to embody yourself, like compassion, integrity, creativity, or freedom. Your life's purpose is not to find a job title. It is to find a way to blend these 3 tones, your talent, your passion, and your values, into a single, harmonious expression. When you are living in this alignment, you are sounding your true note. This is the state of flow, where your energy is boundless, where time seems to disappear, where you feel vibrantly, authentically alive. To illustrate this, imagine that every person is born as a unique musical instrument, handcrafted by the divine for a specific purpose. One person is a grand piano, built with the capacity to express a vast range of complex harmonies and emotions. Another is a simple wooden flute, designed to create a melody that is pure, clear, and joyful. Another is a great tribal drum, meant to provide the powerful, grounding rhythm that allows the whole community to dance. The tragedy of our world is that we often find ourselves in a society that, for a time, only seems to value the sound of the guitar. So the piano tries to sound jangly, hiding its depth. The flute tries to be loud and percussive, losing its sweetness. The drum tries to play a complex melody, sacrificing its essential grounding power. The result is a cacophony of inauthentic noise and a world full of miserable, exhausted instruments. The path to your purpose is not to try and contort yourself into the shape of the instrument currently in fashion. The path is to embark on the sacred work of discovering your own true nature. Are you a piano, a flute, a drum? Your job is not to become a better guitar. It is to embrace your true form and then dedicate your life to mastering it, to becoming the most resonant, clear, and magnificent version of that instrument you can possibly be. So how do you begin this process of self-discovery? You do not find your note by thinking harder or by analyzing more. You find it by listening more deeply to the feedback of your own life, by becoming an archaeologist of your own soul. You must dig for the clues that have been there all along. Ask yourself these questions and listen for the answers not in your head, but as a felt sense in your body. First, what did you love to do as a young child before the world told you what you should be doing? That pure, unself-conscious joy is a powerful clue to your natural talents. Second, what subjects or activities could you engage with for hours on end without feeling drained? What do you read about, talk about, and think about when no one is telling you what to focus on? This points directly to your passions. Third, and this is a crucial question, what makes you lose all track of time? The activities that put you into a state of flow, where your sense of self dissolves and you are fully absorbed in the moment, are the activities where you are sounding your true note. Fourth, what injustice or problem in the world creates a fire in your belly, a righteous anger, or a deep compassion that makes you want to act? This fire is the signal of your core values. Finally, simply pay attention to your energy. When do you feel most alive, most expansive, most like yourself? And when do you feel most drained, most constricted, most like you are playing a role? Your own energy is the ultimate guide. It is the resonance detector that will tell you when you are in tune. By engaging in this deep listening, you shift your focus from trying to invent a purpose to simply expressing your inherent nature. You stop asking, "What does the world want from me?" And you start living the answer to the question, "What wants to be expressed through me?" You begin, in small ways at first, to sound your true note. You give yourself permission to spend time on the passion you had abandoned. You start to set boundaries that honor your values. You find small ways to use your natural talents. You are not yet playing a grand concerto, perhaps, but you are beginning to hum your own tune. And as you do this, as you begin to change your own fundamental vibration from the borrowed song of conformity to the authentic note of your soul, something miraculous begins to happen. The universe, which is a great resonant chamber, begins to respond to your new song. The symphony begins to shift around you, to harmonize with the music you are now making. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and experiences that are in tune with your true self. This is the great and magical law of resonance. As you begin to hum the first tentative notes of your own true song, you step out into the world not as a performer seeking applause, but as a living, breathing vibration. You are now a sounding instrument, and your life becomes a grand experiment in resonance. For the universe, in its infinite intelligence, has a flawless feedback system designed to guide you. It is a system based on a simple, fundamental law of physics, a law that governs the dance of galaxies and the interactions of atoms. It is the law of sympathetic resonance, and it is the key to understanding why your life feels the way it does. You will come to know its two great expressions as the feeling of harmony and the feeling of discord, the felt sense of resonance and dissonance. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt an immediate and inexplicable sense of ease, a feeling that you have known them for years, where conversation flows without effort and silence is comfortable? Or have you ever walked into a room, a house, or a landscape and felt a deep inner sigh of relief, a sense of homecoming? This is not a coincidence. It is not a psychological quirk. It is a physical event. It is resonance. Your energy field, which is vibrating with the unique frequency of your being, has encountered another field of a person, a place, or even an idea that is vibrating in a similar, compatible frequency. The two fields, like two perfectly tuned guitar strings, begin to vibrate in sympathy with each other. The amplitude of the vibration increases. The energy is amplified. The result is a tangible feeling of expansion, of ease, of rightness. It is the universe giving you a clear and unmistakable signal. Yes, this is in harmony with who you are. Conversely, you know the opposite experience all too well. You have met people with whom every interaction feels like walking through thick mud. You feel drained, exhausted, and strangely smaller in their presence. You find yourself carefully editing your words, suppressing your own natural expression. Or you have worked in environments that, despite being outwardly fine, leave you feeling depleted and hollow at the end of each day. This is dissonance. It is the jarring, unpleasant sensation of two or more incompatible frequencies interfering with each other. Like the sound of a beautiful violin being played alongside a trumpet blasting a clashing note, the result is a chaotic wave pattern that feels like static in your very being. It is a feeling of contraction, of effort, of wrongness. This too is a perfect signal from the universe. It is not a judgment. It is not telling you that the person or the place is bad. It is simply giving you the pure, unadorned feedback. Number, this is not in harmony with who you are. Here we encounter one of the most painful and common human conflicts, the war between our inner resonance detector and our mind's fearful logic. Your soul, through the language of your body and your energy, is constantly giving you this feedback. It tells you, with absolute clarity, that the job is draining your life force, that the relationship is built on a foundation of dissonance, that the friendship requires you to betray your own authentic note. And yet, you stay. Why? Because the mind, our conditioned navigator, intervenes with its powerful arsenal of fear and obligation. It says, "But the job is secure. You can't leave." It argues, "But you have so much history with this person. It would be cruel to go." It rationalizes, "But everyone feels this way. This is just what adult life is." And so, you override the clear, simple truth of your own being. You choose the logical argument over the energetic reality. You agree to live in a state of chronic dissonance because you are afraid of the consequences of choosing harmony. This choice, this daily betrayal of your own inner knowing, is the single greatest source of exhaustion, resentment, and unexplained illness in the world. The core message, the liberating truth that can end this inner war, is that your intuition is not a mystical, unreliable faculty. Your intuition is your resonance detector. It is the felt sense of your soul perceiving the vibrational compatibility between you and everything else. To learn to trust your intuition is to learn to honor the physics of your own being. It requires immense courage. It requires the courage to say, "I know this doesn't make logical sense, but my entire being is telling me no." It requires the courage to walk away from situations that look good on paper but feel like death in your soul. It requires you to elevate the quiet, energetic feedback of your body above the loud, frantic arguments of your conditioned mind. The greatest act of self-love is to finally stop arguing with your own truth. You must understand that things that create dissonance for you are not objectively bad. A particular person or job might be a perfect resonant match for someone else. It is simply not part of your symphony. To release it is not an act of judgment. It is an act of energetic integrity. How then do you put this into daily practice? You become a dedicated minute-by-minute observer of your own energy. This is your new spiritual practice. As you move through your day, make it a habit to silently check in with your inner state. After a phone call, pause and ask, "Do I feel more energized or more depleted than before?" When you are with a group of friends, notice, Do I feel expansive and free to be myself? Or do I feel constricted and performing? When you are working on a task, observe. Does this feel like a struggle, or does it feel like flow? Let your own life force be your ultimate guide. The things that are in alignment with you will almost always add to your energy or allow it to flow freely. The things that are out of alignment will invariably drain it. This is not a complicated analysis. It is a simple, binary choice that you can feel in your bones. Notice it, honor it, and begin to make small choices that favor resonance. Choose the 5-minute conversation that uplifts you over the hour-long one that drains you. Choose the walk in the park that energizes you over the television show that numbs you. By making these small, consistent choices, you begin to build a life that is a resonant match for your soul. To fully grasp this concept, let us embrace the metaphor of a room filled with thousands of tuning forks, each one forged to vibrate at a unique, specific frequency. You are one of those tuning forks. As you move through life, you are constantly, silently emitting the frequency of your own being. When you encounter another person, another tuning fork whose fundamental note is very close to your own, a beautiful thing happens without any effort. As you vibrate, they begin to vibrate in sympathy. As they vibrate, your own vibration is amplified. This is the feeling of instant connection, of friendship, of love. It is a natural amplification of harmony. Now, imagine you encounter a tuning fork forged to a drastically different note. As you vibrate, your sound waves hit it, but instead of creating a sympathetic harmony, they create interference. The combined sound is jarring, chaotic, unpleasant. This is the feeling of incompatibility, of bad vibes. It is not that the other tuning fork is bad or wrong. It is simply vibrating to its own truth, which is different from yours. To try and force harmony would require one of you to fundamentally change your own inherent structure, to betray your own note. The wisest, most compassionate act is to simply acknowledge the dissonance and move on, allowing each of you to find the other instruments with whom you can create a beautiful chord. This principle of resonance is not just a guide for your personal life. It is a fundamental organizing principle of the cosmos. As you gain the courage to consciously curate your reality, to move away from dissonance and toward resonance, you are doing something profound. You are purifying your own signal. You are becoming a clearer and more powerful broadcast of your unique note. And as your signal becomes clearer, you begin to activate this universal law on a grander scale. You begin to attract, as if by magic, the people, the resources, the ideas, and the circumstances that are in perfect vibrational harmony with the song you are now singing. This principle, when understood not as a mental trick, but as a law of energetic resonance, has a famous name. It is known as the law of attraction. Having learned to sound your own note, and to recognize the feedback of resonance and dissonance, you now hold the key to understanding one of the most powerful and misunderstood principles of a conscious life. This principle has been called by many names, but it is most famously known as the law of attraction. It has been presented as a magical secret, a cosmic vending machine that will deliver wealth, romance, and happiness if you only wish for it hard enough. This simplistic view has led to much confusion and frustration because it mistakes the reflection for the source. The law of attraction is not a tool you use to get things. It is the natural, impersonal, and unavoidable consequence of the law of resonance. It is not magic. It is the physics of consciousness. The primary reason so many become disillusioned with this law lies in a fundamental misunderstanding of the energy of wanting. When you stand in a state of wanting something, be it a partner, a better job, or peace of mind, you are, by definition, standing in a state of its absence. The very energy of wanting is a powerful broadcast of not having. It is a frequency of lack, a clear signal to the universe that this desired experience is separate from you. You are perfecting the vibration of neediness, and the universe, being a perfect and impersonal mirror of resonance, can only reflect back to you more experiences that match the frequency you are emitting. It gives you more situations in which you will feel the state of wanting. This is why a person who desperately craves wealth often finds themselves in a perpetual state of financial struggle, and a person who desperately aches for a partner often feels a profound and persistent loneliness. They are shouting their desire into the cosmos, but the underlying hum of their being is one of lack, and it is the hum, not the shout, to which the universe responds. This reveals a subtle but crucial inner conflict: the ego's desire to control external outcomes versus the soul's focus on mastering the internal state. The ego believes that happiness is conditional. It will arrive when the new car is in the driveway, when the relationship status changes, when the bank account reaches a certain number. And so, it engages in a frantic effort to manipulate the outside world. It treats manifestation as a project, a goal to be achieved through force of will, through mental tricks and affirmations that are often at war with its own true feelings. This is the path of struggle. It is the path of trying to rearrange the reflection in the mirror without changing the face that is being reflected. The deeper spiritual path turns this entire model inside out. It asks you to withdraw your attention from the external world and to focus entirely on the one thing you have absolute control over: your own state of being, right here, right now. It is the radical acceptance that you cannot control the reflection, but you have total power over the source. The core message, the truth that clarifies all confusion, is this: you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. Your state of being is the complete vibrational signal you are broadcasting in every moment. It is a complex chord, made up of the dominant notes of your thoughts, the resonant color of your emotions, and the deep, often unconscious, bass tone of your core beliefs. The universe does not respond to your words if they are empty of feeling. It does not respond to your fleeting positive thoughts if they are contradicted by a deep-seated belief in your own unworthiness. The universe responds to the totality of your broadcast. It responds to your energetic signature. To change your life, you must change your frequency. You must shift your entire state of being from one of seeking something in the future to one of embodying its essence in the present. Let us return to our metaphor of the radio station. Imagine your being is a powerful broadcasting tower. Your thoughts and feelings tune the transmitter to a specific frequency. Let's say the life you dream of, one of joy, abundance, and love, is being broadcast on station 102.7 FM. But your current state of being, characterized by worry, a feeling of lack, and a habit of criticism, is broadcasting at 99.9 FM. You can stand at your 99.9 FM transmitter all day long, repeating the affirmation, "I am tuned to 102.7 FM." You can describe in vivid detail the beautiful music playing on that station, but you will never ever hear it through your speakers because your transmitter is still locked onto the wrong frequency. Your spoken words are irrelevant if the energy behind them does not match. The work is not to talk about the other station. The work is to go into the control room of your own being and consciously, deliberately, retune your own transmitter. You must become a 102.7 FM broadcast. How is this done? It is done by cultivating the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the practical key to conscious creation. It is an artful shift from thinking of what you want to thinking from what you want. Choose one desire you hold. Now, put aside the thought of the thing itself and ask a deeper question. What is the feeling I believe this thing will give me? If you desire a loving partner, perhaps the feeling is one of cherished companionship, of safety, of joy. If you desire abundance, perhaps the feeling is one of freedom, of ease, of security. Your true desire is not the thing, it is the feeling. Your work, then, is to generate that feeling within yourself now, for no reason other than you choose to. This is the great work. You sit in your quiet space, and you deliberately call up the sensation of being cherished. You feel the warmth of it, the expansion in your chest. You walk through your day, and you deliberately embody the feeling of ease and freedom, as if all your bills were already paid. You are not pretending. You are not lying to yourself. You are performing an act of vibrational alchemy. You are choosing to generate a new frequency and to make it your dominant state of being. You are beginning to broadcast at the new station, even though the external world has not yet caught up. When you begin to live from this state, you are no longer a wanting being, broadcasting lack. You have become a resonant match for the very thing you desire. You are no longer the hungry person chasing after bread. You are the person who feels nourished and who therefore finds bread everywhere they look. This is a profound shift from pleading with the universe to aligning with it. You stop asking and you start being. And the universe, by its own perfect and impersonal law, must begin to arrange circumstances and orchestrate events that match your new, dominant frequency. People who resonate with your new state will enter your life. Opportunities that are in harmony with your new sense of self will appear. The reflection in the mirror must change, because you have changed the face you are presenting to it. Therefore, the law of attraction is not a cosmic tool for material gain. It is a sacred mirror for self-realization. It is the universe's way of showing you, with perfect, unerring accuracy, the content of your own consciousness. If you do not like what you are attracting, you must have the courage to look away from the external circumstances and to look deeply into the frequency you have been broadcasting. The law of attraction invites you to take radical responsibility for your own energy. It is a call to become the master of your inner world, knowing that the outer world is and can only ever be a reflection of it. This principle of energetic feedback, this law that what you send out is what you experience, is not only about what you will create in the future. It is also the most elegant way to understand the results of what you have sent out in the past. It is the physics behind the ancient concept known as karma. Just as the law of attraction is the universe mirroring your present state of being, the ancient law of karma is the universe mirroring your state of doing. Of all the spiritual concepts that have journeyed into the modern vernacular, none is more shrouded in fear and misunderstanding than this one. We have been taught to think of karma as a cosmic accounting system, run by an unseen judge who keeps a meticulous ledger of our good and bad deeds. In this view, the universe is a courtroom, and karma is the sentence handed down for past crimes. We fear it as a form of divine retribution, a punishment that could strike at any moment for some forgotten transgression. This interpretation, born of a deep-seated fear of a punitive, patriarchal God, is a profound distortion of a law that is not moral, but physical, not punitive, but educational, not magical, but deeply, elegantly scientific. This fear-based understanding of karma traps us in a state of spiritual anxiety. It creates a transactional relationship with life, where our good deeds become a form of spiritual insurance rather than a genuine expression of our hearts. We act with kindness not because it is our nature, but because we fear the karmic penalty for cruelty. We practice generosity not out of a sense of abundance, but as a down payment to ward off future lack. This is action born of fear. It is a subtle and pious form of selfishness, driven by the desire to protect our future selves from a vengeful universe. This inner conflict, the desire to be a good person versus the fear that motivates our good actions, creates a subtle but pervasive dissonance. It is the conflict between performing goodness and embodying love. A performance, no matter how convincing, vibrates at the frequency of effort and fear. A true embodiment vibrates at the frequency of ease and expansion. The universe, which responds to the vibration and not the act itself, can feel the difference. To truly be free, we must dismantle this childish model and replace it with a mature, empowering understanding. The core message is this: karma is not punishment, it is feedback. It is not a moral law, it is a law of physics. It is the universal law of the echo. It is the principle of cause and effect applied to the realm of energy and consciousness. Every action you take, every word you speak, every thought you hold, is not a self-contained event. It is a pulse of energy, a vibration that you send out into the unified field of the cosmos. And because the universe is a resonant chamber, that pulse of energy must, by law, ripple outward and eventually return to its point of origin. That point of origin is you. Karma is not a judgment from an external God. It is simply your own energy, your own frequency, returning to you so that you may experience the quality of what you have created. It is the universe's perfect and compassionate way of allowing you to taste the food you have cooked. Let us use the powerful metaphor of a canyon. Imagine you are standing on the precipice of a vast, silent canyon. The canyon represents the universe impersonal, vast, and a perfect reflector of sound. If you lean over the edge and scream a word of rage, filled with the jagged, harsh frequency of anger, what happens? The canyon does not judge you. It does not decide you have been bad. It simply, faithfully, and accurately reflects the energy you have sent it. A moment later, the sound of your own rage echoes back to you from all directions. The canyon did not create the anger. You did. It simply returned your own creation to you. Now, imagine you stand at that same precipice, take a deep breath, and sing the most beautiful, heartfelt note of love and gratitude you can muster. The canyon walls will catch that pure, harmonious frequency. They will amplify it, harmonize with it, and send it back to you as a glorious, resonant chorus. The canyon did not create the love. You did. It simply returned your own beautiful creation to you, magnified. This is karma. It is the great cosmic echo. The world you experience is the echo of the sounds you have been making. If you experience a world of strife, anger, and betrayal, it is because you have, consciously or unconsciously, been screaming anger and betrayal into the canyon. If you experience a world of love, opportunity, and grace, it is because you have been singing a song of love and grace. This understanding shifts you from a position of a fearful child awaiting judgment to a powerful creator taking full responsibility for your reality. It is profoundly empowering. It means that if you do not like the echo you are hearing in your life, you have the power to change the sound you are making right now. This is the conscious application of the law of karma. It is the practice of becoming a deliberate cause rather than an unconscious effect. How do we do this? We do it by introducing a sacred pause before we act, a moment of presence between impulse and action. In that momentary stillness, we conduct a frequency check. Before you speak, before you type, before you make that decision, ask yourself this one simple question. From what frequency within me is this intended action arising? Is it originating from a place of fear, the need to be right, the need to defend my position, the need to protect my fragile ego? Or is it originating from a place of love, the desire to understand, the desire to connect, the desire to contribute, the desire to heal? Is this a frequency of contraction which seeks to separate and diminish? Or is this a frequency of expansion which seeks to unite and uplift? This simple internal question is a revolutionary act. It makes you accountable not just for your actions, but for the energy behind your actions. For it is the energy that creates the echo. You can perform a charitable act from a frequency of arrogant superiority, and the echo that returns will be one of isolation and resentment. Or you can perform the very same act from a frequency of genuine, heartfelt compassion, and the echo that returns will be one of connection and joy. The outer form of the action is secondary to the inner frequency of the intention. By consistently choosing to act from the highest frequency available to you in any given moment, from love, from integrity, from compassion, you begin to consciously change the sound you are sending into the canyon. You begin to sing a new song, and the law of karma, being impartial and absolute, must then begin to return to you an echo of this new, more beautiful music. This understanding of karma as an echo liberates us from the past. It means you are not eternally condemned by your past mistakes. You are only experiencing the echoes of old sounds you once made. The way to change the echo is not to regret the old sound, but to start making a new one, right now, with such power and consistency that its new, harmonious echo eventually drowns out the fading, dissonant echoes of the past. It is an invitation to radical presence and complete self-responsibility. It is the universe, in its infinite compassion, trusting you with the power of creation. It says to you, I will be the perfect mirror for you. I will show you exactly who you are being by reflecting your energy back to you. When you are ready to see a more beautiful reflection, create a more beautiful source. This profound understanding that the life we are living today is in many ways a resonant echo of the frequencies we have emitted in the past leads us directly to the next essential step in our journey. If we find ourselves surrounded by the dissonant echoes of old pain, old trauma, and old mistakes, how do we finally allow them to fade? How do we heal the inner dissonance that is creating them? We have come to understand our lives as a great resonant chamber, a space where the echoes of our own energy faithfully return to us. We have learned that by changing the sound we make in the present, we can begin to change the echo we experience in the future. Yet, even as we learn to sing this new, more harmonious song, we are often still haunted by the echoes of the past. There are dissonant chords that linger in the air, jarring notes from old pains, past mistakes, and deep wounds. These are the areas of our lives where we feel stuck, where we repeat the same painful patterns, where joy seems unable to take root. These are the pockets of unresolved dissonance within our own energy field, and to be truly free, we must have the courage to turn toward them and begin the sacred work of healing. Our primary strategy for dealing with these inner wounds has been one of avoidance. We have been taught, by a world that fears discomfort, to suppress, deny, or distract ourselves from our own pain. We lock the wounded parts of ourselves away in the dark basement of the psyche and try to live our lives in the sunlit upper floors, pretending the basement doesn't exist. We build the entire architecture of our personality as a defense against ever having to feel that old pain again. If we were abandoned, we become fiercely independent. If we were shamed, we become relentless perfectionists. We believe that if we ignore the wound, it will eventually lose its power and fade away. But the opposite is true. The energy of an unhealed wound does not dissipate when it is ignored. It festers, it leaks. It radiates its frequency of pain throughout your entire system, subtly sabotaging your relationships, limiting your joy, and draining your life force to maintain the walls of its prison. This leads to a profound inner conflict that holds the key to your liberation. It is the conflict between the acute fear of facing the pain and the chronic suffering of avoiding it. Your mind, in its role as protector, is terrified of reopening the old wound. It believes that to feel the pain again would be to be destroyed by it, to be plunged back into the original overwhelming experience. And so it resists. But your soul knows that the constant, low-grade effort of suppressing that pain, of living a life built on avoidance, is its own form of slow death. It is the choice between the sharp but finite and cleansing, fire of healing and the cold, damp, and infinite misery of a wound that is never allowed to see the light of day. The great spiritual truth is that the only way out is through. You cannot go around your pain. You cannot climb over it. You must, with great compassion and courage, journey into its heart. Here we must redefine what it means to heal. Healing is not the act of erasing the past. The past cannot be changed. The events that occurred are written in the unchangeable ink of time. To fight with the past, to wish it were different, is a recipe for perpetual suffering. Healing is the alchemical process of changing your energetic relationship to the past. It is about fundamentally altering the frequency you hold in your body in relation to a memory. The memory itself, the factual event, does not change, but its ability to trigger a dissonant chord of pain, anger, or shame within you is neutralized. You heal a wound not by cutting it out of your history, but by learning to hold the memory of it in a vast, new container. You learn to surround the painful memory with the high-frequency energy of your own loving, compassionate, non-judgmental awareness. Let us use our metaphor of the body as a great harp. An emotional trauma is like a string that has been violently struck and then tightened to a screaming pitch. It is stuck, vibrating with the high, frantic frequency of pain. Now, every time a new experience in your life even gently brushes up against this over-tightened string, it lets out its jarring, dissonant shriek, throwing your entire being out of harmony. This is what it means to be triggered. Our instinctive reaction is to try to avoid anything that might touch that string, which makes our world smaller and smaller. But healing is a different approach. Healing is the act of becoming the master musician of your own instrument. It is the act of approaching that screaming, overwrought string not with fear, but with profound compassion and a steady hand. Gently, patiently, you place your hand on the tuning peg that holds the tension, and with love, you begin to loosen it, to release the stored, traumatized energy. You are not breaking the string or removing it. It is a part of your history, a part of your unique instrument. You are simply releasing the excess tension, allowing it to return to its natural, proper pitch, so that it can once again contribute to the rich and beautiful harmony of your entire being. The string that once produced your greatest pain can, when healed, produce a note of profound depth, wisdom, and compassion. The most powerful practice for loosening these tuning pegs, for releasing the trapped energy of past wounds, is the alchemy of forgiveness. We must reframe forgiveness entirely. It is not something you do for the person who harmed you. It is not about condoning their behavior or letting them off the hook. Forgiveness is a radical act of self-healing. To hold on to resentment, anger, and blame is to willingly choose to keep the dissonant frequency of that past event alive and vibrating within your own body. It is, as the saying goes, like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Forgiveness is the act of declaring, I will no longer allow the events of the past to dictate the frequency of my present. I reclaim my energy. I choose peace. A powerful way to facilitate this is to write a letter that you will never send. On paper, pour out every last drop of your uncensored anger, pain, grief, and disappointment. Do not hold back. When there is nothing left to say, end with a declaration of release. For the sake of my own peace, I release you from the debt I thought you owed me. I take back my power. I am free. Then, as a sacred ritual, safely burn the letter and watch the smoke carry the old, stagnant energy away. And then, there is the often more difficult task of forgiving yourself. We hold on to self-judgment and shame for our past mistakes like a shield, believing that if we punish ourselves enough, we will never make that mistake again. But shame is one of the lowest, most dissonant frequencies a human can hold. To heal it, you must learn to look back at the person you were with compassion. That version of you acted from the level of consciousness and the amount of pain they were in at that time. They did not know what you know now. Approach that younger self in your imagination. See their fear, their confusion, their pain, and instead of judgment, offer them the love and understanding they never received. Tell them, I see you. I understand why you did what you did. I forgive you. You are released from this burden. This act of self-compassion loosens the tightest knot of all and allows the beautiful, resonant note of self-acceptance to sound within you. By undertaking this sacred work of healing dissonance, you are not fighting your past. You are lovingly integrating it. You are becoming a space of awareness so vast and so filled with love that it can hold your entire story, the light and the dark, without being diminished by it. You are not defined by your wounds. You are defined by the courage and compassion with which you have met them. Each time you release a pocket of trapped, dissonant energy, you reclaim a piece of your own life force. That energy, which was once occupied with the exhausting task of suppression, is now liberated. It is free to be used not for managing the past, but for consciously creating a new and beautiful future. This begs the question: what is the force we use to direct this newly liberated energy? What is the focused, creative power that allows us to consciously choose the notes we wish to play? This power, the master key to conscious creation, is the power of intention. Having journeyed into the shadowed valleys of the self to heal the dissonant echoes of the past, you emerge into a new landscape. The energy that was once trapped in holding old wounds is now liberated, free, and available to you. You are lighter. The inner space is quieter. A question now presents itself, not from a place of pain, but from a place of potential. What will you do with this newfound freedom? What will you create with this reclaimed energy? For too long, you have been in a reactive mode, healing what was. Now, you stand at the threshold of a new way of being, a proactive state where you can begin to consciously create what will be. The bridge from the world of healing to the world of creation is built with the focused, luminous power of intention. Let us first examine the state from which most of humanity operates. It is a state of energetic diffusion, of powerlessness. We feel like a small boat tossed upon a vast and unpredictable ocean, at the mercy of the winds of circumstance, the currents of other people's moods, and the great, random tides of luck. Life, in this view, is something that happens to us. We are the effect, not the cause. This is the victim mentality. It is a state where our creative energy, our life force, is scattered and unfocused. Like a light bulb without a reflector, it shines weakly in all directions, unable to illuminate a clear path. We react to the day's events. We are pulled into the dramas of others. We are governed by the habits of our past. Our life is not a deliberate creation. It is an unconscious accumulation of reactions. The inner conflict that keeps us trapped in this state is the seductive comfort of blame versus the empowering weight of responsibility. When we adopt the victim mindset, we grant ourselves a strange kind of permission. We are not responsible for our unhappiness, because the fault lies with our job, our partner, our past, the state of the world. Blame is a convenient release valve for the pressure of our dissatisfaction. It is, however, a gilded cage. To blame another is to give them your power. It is to declare that your happiness is in their hands. The alternative, the path to true freedom, is to take radical responsibility, not for the external events of the world, but for your own inner state, your own energetic frequency in every single moment. This path is more demanding, for it offers no one else to blame. But it is the only path where you reclaim your power and become the master of your own experience. The tool you use to walk this path is intention. We must be very clear about what intention is. Intention is not merely a wish. It is not a hope. It is not a goal that exists in the distant future. Intention is conscious, focused, directed energy. It is the deliberate act of gathering the scattered light of your awareness and aiming it like a laser beam. It is the conscious choice of a frequency. If your consciousness is a great ship, intention is the rudder. Without it, the ship drifts aimlessly. With it, you can steer your vessel through any waters. When you set an intention, you are making a clear declaration to the entire universe, to your own subconscious mind, and to every cell in your body. You are announcing, this is the note we will hold today. This is the vibrational keynote that will inform all our harmonies and melodies. This is the state from which we will operate. It is the most profound act of creative power you can perform. It transforms you from a passive leaf, blown about by the winds, into the wind itself. The metaphor that captures this most perfectly is that of a musician tuning their instrument. Imagine a master violinist walking onto the stage of a great concert hall. The audience is silent, waiting. Does she immediately launch into the concerto? Never. First, she undertakes a sacred, focused ritual. She plucks a string, listens with absolute presence, and then carefully, precisely, turns the tuning peg until the note is perfect. She does this for each string. She is not hoping for harmony. She is consciously creating the conditions for it. She is tuning her instrument. Now, think of your consciousness as that violin. Each day is a new performance. To wake up and immediately plunge into the day, to check your phone, to read the news, to worry about your to-do list, is to grab your violin and start playing frantically without having tuned it. The result, inevitably, will be a day of dissonance, of reaction, of chaotic, unintentional noise. The act of setting an intention in the morning is the conscious, sacred ritual of tuning your instrument for the performance of the day ahead. This practice is not complex. It does not require hours of meditation. It requires only a few moments of sincere, focused presence. Before the world has a chance to impose its frequencies upon you, claim the first few minutes of your day as your own. Before you reach for your phone, before you engage with another person, sit quietly. Take 3 deep, centering breaths. Feel yourself present in your body, here and now. Then, ask yourself one simple, powerful question. Not, what do I have to do today? But, what frequency do I choose to embody today? Or, how do I wish to feel as I move through my day? The answer should not be a task, but a state of being. The answer is your intention. Perhaps the word that arises is peace. In that moment, your intention is set. Your work for the day is not to force peace or to fight for it, but to consistently return to it as your keynote. When you feel anxiety rising, you remember your intention and you breathe into peace. When you are faced with a conflict, you ask, what would an action born of peace look like? Perhaps the word is creativity. Your intention is to see the world through the eyes of an artist, to find novel solutions, to express yourself authentically. Perhaps the word is connection. Your intention is to listen deeply, to be present with others, to see the divine in those you meet. Choose one word. Let it be your anchor, your keynote for the day. Feel the resonance of this word in your body. Breathe it in, as if you are imbuing every cell with this chosen frequency. Then, release it. Let it go, trusting that you have calibrated your instrument. This simple 2-minute ritual is an act of profound self-mastery. It is the difference between an accidental life and a created one. As you move through your day, your intention will act as your energetic compass. It will help you make choices that are in alignment with your chosen frequency. It will attune your perception so that you notice things you might have otherwise missed, an opportunity for connection, a moment of beauty, a peaceful solution. It will not prevent challenges from arising. The world will still present you with its storms and its dissonant notes. But now, you have a tuning fork. You have a pure, clear note to which you can always return, recalibrating yourself amidst the chaos. You are no longer just reacting to the world's music. You are holding your own note, contributing your own clear, intentional harmony to the day. This is the shift from powerlessness to empowerment. It is the recognition that while you cannot control the world outside of you, you have absolute sovereignty over the world inside of you. And because the inner world is the cause and the outer world is the effect, this is the only power that truly matters. Intention is the focused application of your creative life force. It is the art of directing the energy you have reclaimed from your past wounds toward the future you wish to inhabit. You have healed your instrument, removing the dissonant tensions of the past. You have now learned how to tune your instrument each morning with a clear and focused intention. Your instrument is resonant. It is ready. The next logical, joyful step is to play it. It is time to let the beautiful, coherent, and intentional sound of your being radiate out into the world, not as a hope or a wish, but as a living, breathing reality. It is time to broadcast your signal. You have journeyed deep into the architecture of your own being. You have quieted the mind, soothed the body, and discovered the steady, wise hum of the heart. You have found the courage to face the dissonant echoes of the past, and you have learned to tune the instrument of your consciousness each morning with the luminous power of intention. All of this has been sacred, essential inner work. You have repaired and tuned your instrument in the quiet of the workshop. But an instrument, no matter how perfectly tuned, is not meant to remain silent in its case. Its ultimate purpose is to be played. Its destiny is to share its music with the world. Now is the time to move from inner potential to outer expression. It is time to take the beautiful, coherent frequency you have cultivated within and begin to consciously broadcast it as the living reality of your life. For most of us, there exists a painful gap between the person we are on the inside and the person we present to the world. We feel one way, but we act another. We believe in one set of values, but we make choices that contradict them. This is the pain of incongruence. It is a state of profound inner dissonance, a civil war that silently rages within the psyche. It is the feeling of knowing your soul's music is a gentle, melodic ballad, but forcing yourself to play a loud, frantic rock anthem because you believe it is what the world wants to hear. This incongruence, this splitting of the self, is perhaps the most exhausting state a human can endure. It requires a tremendous amount of life force to maintain the mask, to manage the performance, to constantly suppress your own authentic impulses. The anxiety, burnout, and depression that plague our modern world are not diseases in themselves. They are often the symptoms of a soul that is exhausted from the strain of broadcasting a signal that is not its own. The inner conflict that perpetuates this state is the primal fear of judgment versus the soul's undeniable yearning for truth. A part of you, the part that is conditioned for social survival, is terrified of what might happen if you were to live your truth aloud. What will my family think if I leave the stable career path they chose for me? Will my friends abandon me if I no longer want to participate in the gossip and complaining that once bonded us? Will the world see me as strange, as a failure, as too much or not enough, if I reveal the true music of my heart? This fear of being cast out from the tribe is ancient and powerful, and so it wages war against the deepest impulse of your soul, which is simply to be what it is. The soul does not want to pretend. Its very nature is to express its unique frequency, to radiate its specific light. This conflict is the ultimate test of your allegiance. Will you choose the perceived safety of social acceptance, or will you choose the spiritual integrity of your own authentic expression? The core message that resolves this conflict is the understanding of authenticity as a state of energetic coherence. Authenticity is not a personality trait you can adopt. It is the natural outcome of aligning your inner world with your outer world. It is the state you achieve when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all vibrating at the same frequency. It is when the values you hold in your heart are the same values that guide your choices. It is when the you on the inside is the same you that shows up in the world. In this state of congruence, there is no wasted energy. There is no inner war. Your being becomes a clear, powerful, and resonant broadcast of your unique truth. This coherence is the most magnetic and powerful state a human can achieve. It is not about being liked or approved of. It is about being so completely and unapologetically yourself that your very presence becomes an invitation for others to do the same. Let us use our metaphor of the radio broadcast one last time. Imagine your soul as a pristine recording studio. In this studio, your true music, the unique note of your being, informed by your deepest values and passions, is playing perfectly and eternally. Your life in the world, your career, your relationships, your daily actions is the broadcast tower, sending a signal out to the world. For many, there is a technical malfunction, a crossed wire between the studio and the tower. The beautiful, authentic music is playing in the studio, but what gets transmitted over the airwaves is static, or a collection of top 40 hits borrowed from the culture. The work of authentic living is the work of becoming a master engineer of your own life. It is the meticulous and joyful task of repairing the connection, of ensuring that the signal being broadcast is a high-fidelity, crystal-clear reflection of the sacred music being played in the studio of your soul. When you achieve this, you stop trying to be someone, and you simply are. Your life itself becomes the music. How do we begin this work of engineering an authentic life? Not with a single, grand, dramatic gesture. A life of integrity is not built overnight. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, through small, consistent, and courageous actions taken every single day. This is the practical application. Begin by choosing one of your core values, one that you identified when you were searching for your note. Perhaps it is honesty or compassion or creativity. Now, ask yourself one simple question. What is one small, concrete action I can take today that is in alignment with this value? The size of the action is completely irrelevant. Its power lies in its energetic alignment. If your chosen value is compassion, your action might be to stop and truly listen to a coworker who is struggling, instead of offering a quick platitude. If your value is honesty, it might be to speak a difficult truth to a loved one, not with aggression, but with kindness and a desire for true connection. If your value is creativity, it might be to dedicate just 15 minutes to writing, drawing, or playing music, not for any external goal, but simply for the joy of the act itself. Each time you take one of these small, aligned actions, you are strengthening the wire between your soul's studio and your life's broadcast tower. You are casting a vote for authenticity. You are building the muscle of courage. You do not need to quit your job or leave your family tomorrow. You simply need to take the next, small, right action that is in front of you. Over time, these small actions accumulate. They build a powerful momentum. Your confidence in your own inner guidance grows. The fear of judgment begins to lose its power, replaced by the deep, quiet satisfaction of living in alignment with your own truth. You are no longer hoping to one day live an authentic life. You are actively building one, moment by moment. This is the great work. It is the culmination of all your inner healing and exploration. It is the act of bringing the light you have found within out into the world, not as a sermon, but as your lived reality. You stop worrying about how the world perceives you, and you focus only on the integrity and clarity of your own broadcast. Your life becomes your message. And as you become more practiced at this, as your signal becomes stronger, clearer, and more consistent, you may begin to notice something profound. You start to become aware not just of the beauty of your own note, but of the silence from which it arises. You feel the stillness between the thoughts, the quiet space that holds the emotions, the great silent backdrop against which your entire symphony is played. You begin to sense that perhaps the ultimate truth is not found in the most beautiful sound, but in the silent source of all sound. You are beginning to hear the sound of stillness. You have come so far. You have learned to broadcast the clear signal of your authentic self, to live a life where your inner truth and your outer actions begin to move in a harmonious dance. You have become the conscious engineer of your own frequency, the master musician of your own instrument. This journey of healing, tuning, and expressing is a noble and essential path. And yet, if we are not careful, the journey itself can become another form of striving, another subtle trap for the ego. We must now approach the final frontier of our inner world, a realm that is entered not by doing more, but by doing less, not by attaining a new skill, but by letting go of all skills, not by seeking a new sound, but by falling into the embrace of silence itself. Let us examine a curious phenomenon, the spiritual ego. The ego, that part of our mind that constructs our sense of a separate self, is a master of survival. When it sees that you are no longer interested in its old games of material accumulation and social status, it does not simply surrender. It changes its costume. It puts on spiritual robes. It becomes the spiritual person. It begins to collect spiritual concepts just as it once collected possessions. It prides itself on how much it meditates, on its knowledge of frequencies and chakras, on how much healing work it has done. It turns enlightenment into a future goal, a grand achievement to be won, the ultimate prize for the separate self. It is the most subtle and clever of all traps, because it uses the very tools of liberation to reinforce the illusion of separation. It keeps you forever in a state of becoming enlightened, which perpetually prevents you from realizing that you are, and always have been, the light itself. This gives rise to the final and most profound inner conflict, the battle between striving and surrender. It is the tension between the mind's deeply ingrained habit of doing something to fix a perceived problem and the soul's deep intuitive knowing that there is nothing to fix. We are trying to achieve a state of peace, but the very act of trying is unpeaceful. We are making an effort to reach a state of surrender, but the effort is the opposite of surrender. We are on a great, heroic quest to find the wholeness that we believe we have lost, but the quest itself is predicated on the false belief that we are not already whole. This is the great paradox. All the work we have done, the healing, the tuning, the aligning, has not been to earn our wholeness. It has been to clear away the noise, the dust, and the confusion, so that we might finally perceive the wholeness that has been our true nature all along. The ultimate core message, the truth that lies beyond all concepts, is this: deeper than any thought, more fundamental than any emotion, beyond all frequencies and vibrations, there is a primordial stillness. This is not an empty silence. It is not a void. It is the unmanifested, intelligent, and infinite field of pure consciousness from which all form, all sound, all worlds are born. It is the ground of all being. This stillness does not have a frequency. It is the source of all frequencies. It is not a state you can achieve. It is what you are when all achieving stops. In this silent, spacious awareness, there is no problem, there is no wound, there is no seeker, and nothing to be sought. There is nothing to heal because nothing has ever been broken. There is only the serene, luminous peace of your own essential nature. Imagine the entire universe is a grand symphony. We have been exploring its notes, its melodies, its harmonies and dissonances. The primordial stillness can be understood in two ways. First, it is the pure, white, empty sheet music upon which the entire symphony is written. Before a single note existed, there was the silent potential of the page. The page is not separate from the music. It is the very condition for the music's existence. Without the empty page, no song could ever be played. Second, the stillness is the silence between the notes. It is the pause after a dramatic crescendo, the breath between the phrases of a melody. Without these silences, music would be an unbearable, meaningless wall of noise. The silence is what gives shape, definition, and emotional power to the sounds. We have been so focused on the notes, the phenomena of our lives, the thoughts, the feelings, the events, that we have completely overlooked the silent background that gives them all their meaning. We have forgotten that we are not just the notes, we are the silence from which they arise and into which they dissolve. The practical application of this understanding is a form of meditation that can be called objectless awareness, or simply resting as the witness. It is a practice of non-doing. Find your quiet space. Sit comfortably. In other practices, we have placed our focus on an object, the breath, a mantra, a feeling in the body. Now, we will do something different. Gently let go of any point of focus. Instead of concentrating on the objects that appear in your awareness, become aware of the awareness itself. Notice the vast, open, silent space of your own consciousness. It is like an infinite, clear sky. Thoughts may arise like clouds. Let them come, let them be, let them go. A sound may be heard. Let it pass through the space of your awareness without clinging to it. An emotion may surface. Observe it as a subtle weather pattern, rising and falling. Your identity, your anchor, is no longer with the passing phenomena. Your identity is with the vast, unchanging, silent sky that effortlessly contains all phenomena. You are not the thoughts, the sounds, or the feelings. You are the space in which they happen. As you rest in this open awareness, you will notice that this inner space has qualities. It is inherently peaceful. It is silent, even when there is noise. It is changeless, even as experiences change within it. It is whole, and it is here, right now. There is no effort required to create it. You need only to stop doing everything else and notice that it has always been here. This is not a passive state. It is a state of supreme, vibrant aliveness. It is the peace that the scriptures say surpasses all understanding, because it cannot be grasped by the thinking mind. It can only be known by being it. By learning to rest in this primordial stillness, you step off the hamster wheel of seeking, the frantic search for a better feeling, a higher state, a final healing, comes to a gentle end. You realize that you have been a wave, thrashing about on the surface of the ocean, desperately searching for water. The healing you were looking for is in the very substance of your own being. The peace you were striving for is the very nature of the silence you were ignoring. The wholeness you felt you had lost is the eternal truth of your existence. This is the great homecoming. You were never a broken instrument that needed to be fixed. You were a perfect note, simply forgetful of the beautiful, eternal silence from which you came. And as you learn to rest here, as you become comfortable in this silent, formless ground of your being, a final, beautiful transformation occurs. The distinction between the listener and the music begins to dissolve. The line between the perceiver and the perceived becomes transparent. You are no longer just an instrument playing a song. You are becoming the music itself. You have rested in the heart of the great stillness. You have discovered the silent, empty page upon which the symphony of your life is written. From this sacred ground of being, a final and beautiful transformation begins to unfold. It is a subtle shift, one that cannot be forced or willed. It is a blossoming that happens in its own time when the soil of your consciousness has been sufficiently prepared. The firm, solid boundary between you, the observer, and the world, the observed, begins to soften. The distinction between the listener and the music, which has guided our entire journey, begins to dissolve. You are entering a new state of consciousness, not by acquiring anything new, but by letting go of the final and most fundamental illusion, the illusion that you are a separate self who is having an experience. The ego, the sense of a separate me, is endlessly resourceful. It has clung to one identity after another. It was the victim, then the seeker, then the healer, then the one who was becoming spiritual. It can even find a final, subtle foothold in the identity of the witness or the one who is aware. It prides itself on being the silent observer, the one who is resting in stillness. It creates a separation between I, the enlightened witness, and that, the world of illusion. This is its last stand. For the ultimate truth, the final surrender, is the dissolution of this witness into the very fabric of the experience itself. The ego fears this more than anything, for it is the complete annihilation of its existence. It is the final death of separation. It is the drop of water, having journeyed all the way to the edge of the sea, finally letting go and merging with the boundless ocean. This gives rise to the last great inner conflict, the final hurdle on the path. It is the conflict between the identity of the doer and the reality of the dance. A part of you, the part that has worked so hard to get here, still wants to be in control. It wants to be the one having this blissful experience of unity. It wants to possess it, to hold on to it, to understand it. But this state cannot be possessed by a separate self, because it is defined by the absence of a separate self. The doer cannot enter this state. The doer must dissolve for this state to be revealed. It is the last clinging of the mind to its own existence. Its fear of letting go of the reins completely and trusting the magnificent, intelligent flow of life itself. It is the fear that if I am not here to run the show, everything will fall apart. The truth is, I was the only thing preventing the show from being a masterpiece all along. The core message, the destination of our entire journey, is this. The ultimate state of healing and awakening is not that you have finally found the right frequency. It is the realization that you are the frequency. You are not a soul trapped inside a body. You are the divine energy of the universe expressing itself, for a time, as a soul in a body. You are not a person listening to the symphony of creation. You are a unique and essential note in that symphony. The separation you have felt your entire life was not a fundamental reality. It was a product of a focused, analytical mind, a mind that separates the world into subjects and objects in order to understand it. As that tight focus softens and relaxes into a more holistic awareness, the illusion of separation it created simply, gently, dissolves. You do not go anywhere. You do not gain anything. You simply awaken to the magnificent truth of what you have always been. The most potent metaphor for this state is that of the dancer and the dance. When a dancer is first learning, there is a clear and painful separation. There is I, the dancer, and there are the steps, the dance. The mind is working furiously, remembering the choreography, criticizing mistakes, worrying about the next movement. The dancer is thinking about the dance. But as mastery and presence deepen, a magical shift occurs. The thinking mind goes silent. The dancer is no longer separate from the steps. The body moves with an intelligence of its own, flowing effortlessly with the music. In these moments of pure grace, there is no dancer and no dance. There is only a single, unified, flowing expression of energy. The dancer has become the dance. This is the state of being we are now exploring. You stop thinking about how to live a spiritual, authentic, and harmonious life. You stop analyzing your frequency. You simply, effortlessly, and joyfully are that life. You have become the music. How does one practice this state of being? The practice itself dissolves into life. Formal meditation becomes less of a specific technique and more of a continuous, moment-to-moment state of mindful presence. You practice becoming the music by dissolving the doer in the doing. When you drink a cup of tea, you cease to be the person drinking tea. You dissolve into the entire sensory experience. You are the warmth of the ceramic against your hands. You are the fragrant aroma of the steam. You are the subtle taste on your tongue. You are the feeling of warmth spreading through your body. The entire universe of tea drinking is happening, and you are not the subject of the experience. You are the experience itself. When you walk, you dissolve the walker and you become the walking. You are the rhythmic contact of your feet upon the earth. You are the feeling of the breeze on your skin. You are the sights and sounds of your surroundings. The experience is whole, and you are that wholeness. When you listen to another person, you dissolve the listener, and you become a vast, open, silent space of pure listening. You are not filtering their words through your own opinions and judgments. You are simply the space in which their truth, their pain, their joy is allowed to be heard. Their words arise within your awareness, and you are that shared awareness. This is how you live in the world when you have become the music. You are no longer a noun, a separate self. You are a verb, a process, a continuous, flowing expression of life. In this state of being, the world is transformed, not because the world has changed, but because you have ceased to see it from a point of view of separation. Life is no longer a series of problems to be solved or goals to be achieved. It is a divine play, a beautiful dance, and you are a willing and joyful participant. There is no longer a need to protect a fragile ego, so you can act with courage and love. There is no longer a need to prove your worth, so you can create with freedom and joy. There is no longer a fear of the future or a regret of the past, because your entire being is anchored in the infinite richness of the present moment. You are living from a place of deep trust in the flow of the universe, because you recognize that you are the flow of the universe. This state is not some distant superhuman achievement reserved for enlightened masters in remote caves. It is your birthright. It is the most natural state of being, the state to which your soul has been calling you all along. It is not a destination to be reached, but a reality to be returned to. It is the simple, profound, and resonant state of being. And so, we arrive not at an end, but at a beginning. The journey inward, through the noise and the silence, through the healing and the tuning, has led you back to the place where you began, but you perceive it for the first time. The final illusion of a separate self, the listener who was trying to hear the music, has dissolved into the music itself. You have become the dance. From this new ground of being, life is no longer perceived as a series of problems to be solved or as a threatening wilderness to be navigated. It reveals itself for what it has always been, a magnificent, intelligent, and perfectly responsive field of resonance. This is the state of being we can only call the resonance of being. When you live from this state, your perception of the world undergoes a radical shift. The firm line you once drew between me and not me, between your inner world and the outer world, becomes transparent and porous. You begin to experience life as a great, unified dance of energy, and you see with undeniable clarity how the outer world is a flawless mirror of your own inner state. You no longer blame circumstances for your feelings, because you understand that your feelings are the very frequency that called those circumstances into being. You no longer feel like a victim of life's events, because you recognize yourself as the creative center from which your experience of life flows. The world ceases to be a collection of random, separate objects and events. Instead, you perceive it as a single, flowing tapestry of energy, a coherent dream in the mind of God, and you are both the dreamer and a figure in the dream. This brings about the end of all fundamental conflict, the constant, exhausting war that the ego wages against what is finally ceases. In the past, your life was defined by the struggle against the unwanted. You resisted your negative emotions. You fought against your flaws. You battled with difficult people and challenging situations. Now, from the vast, peaceful perspective of being, you see that there was never anything to fight. You realize that the so-called dissonant notes of life, the pain, the loss, the challenges are not mistakes in the composition. They are essential elements of its depth and beauty. A symphony that consists only of happy major chords would be a shallow and tiresome thing. It is the moments of tension, the minor keys, the dramatic pauses that give the music its emotional power, its richness, its meaning. You learn to embrace the totality of life's symphony. You welcome the joy and the sorrow, the success and the failure, the light and the shadow, knowing that they are all integral parts of a perfect and magnificent whole. The need to control life dissolves, replaced by a deep and profound trust in its unfolding. There is no more conflict, because you are no longer at war with half of reality. In this state of profound acceptance, you discover a new kind of power. It is not the brittle, forceful power of the ego, which seeks to dominate, to control, and to impose its will upon the world. That is the power of resistance, and it is endlessly exhausting. The power that arises from the resonance of being is the effortless, flowing power of water. It is the power of non-resistance, of harmony, of alignment. Like a master of a martial art who uses the opponent's own energy to create balance, you learn to move with the currents of life rather than fighting against them. When a challenge arises, you do not meet it with rigid force. You meet it with spacious awareness, allowing you to perceive the wisest, most harmonious path through it. You find that the most effective action is often the simplest, the quietest, the one that requires the least amount of effort. This is the power that comes not from trying to be a rock that withstands the river, but from realizing that you are the river itself. Your will and the will of the universe become one and the same, and your life begins to move with an astonishing grace and synchronicity. From this ground of effortless flow, a particular frequency becomes not just a practice, but your continuous, natural state. It is the frequency of gratitude. In the past, you may have practiced gratitude as a technique to make you feel better, but now it is no longer something you do. It is a spontaneous and constant wellspring in your heart. It arises naturally from the direct perception of the miraculous nature of existence. When you see the world not as a problem, but as a perfect reflection of consciousness, how can you feel anything but gratitude? Every breath becomes a gift. Every interaction becomes an opportunity for connection. Even the challenges are seen as blessings, as valuable teachers sent to you for your own awakening. This gratitude is not a denial of life's difficulties. It is a profound recognition of the sacredness that permeates every single moment, the difficult ones and the easy ones alike. This state of perpetual gratitude is the highest and most beautiful frequency you can broadcast, and it ensures that the universe will continue to mirror back to you a reality filled with endless reasons to be grateful. All the metaphors we have used on this journey now converge into a single, living reality. Your body is indeed the sacred instrument, but you no longer have to consciously tune it, for it is held in a constant state of harmony by your own peaceful presence. Life is indeed the grand symphony, but you are no longer anxiously trying to read the sheet music, for the music flows through you spontaneously and perfectly. You are the music. The distinction has vanished. Your entire life, the way you work, the way you love, the way you breathe, becomes a beautiful, coherent piece of music, a unique and irreplaceable contribution to the cosmic composition. This brings us to the final, classic paradox of existence, the mystery of the one and the many. For your entire journey, you have worked to discover your unique note, your individual truth. And yet, at the peak of this realization, you discover that you are not separate from the whole. The great mystics have often described this with the metaphor of the ocean and the drop of water. You are a single, unique drop. You have your own history, your own perspective, your own journey. Yet, at the same time, the substance of what you are, the water itself, is indistinguishable from the substance of the entire ocean. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean, choosing to experience itself for a brief, beautiful moment as a single drop. You are both, simultaneously, the unique, individual expression and the boundless, universal source. You are a finite being, holding the infinite within you. To live in the resonance of being is to live in the joyful acceptance of this sacred paradox, to be a human being who has not forgotten their divinity. You walk through the world as an individual, but you act with the love, the wisdom, and the peace of the entire cosmos flowing through you. The sound of your life becomes one of pure, resonant, and effortless grace. We began our journey together in the silent courtyard of a forgotten temple, before a great bell that held the memory of a sound it could no longer make. It was covered in the dust of the world, muted by the noise of a life lived out of tune. Look at it now. The dust is gone. The silence that surrounds it is no longer one of neglect, but of reverence. And listen, it is ringing. But it is not being struck by any external force. There is no mallet, no hand, no grand event causing it to sound. It is humming, vibrating in quiet sympathy with the movement of the wind, with the warmth of the sun, with the deep, slow breathing of the earth itself. Its sound is no longer a performance. It is the simple, constant, and beautiful expression of its own being, in perfect harmony with the world around it. That bell is you. The healing you sought, the peace you craved, the music you longed to hear was never in a distant place or a future time. It was not a secret to be learned or a prize to be won. It was here, all along, waiting patiently beneath the noise. The entire journey we have taken through the chaos and the stillness, through the pain and the release, through the frequencies of thought and the energies of emotion was not a journey of creation, but of excavation. It was not a process of building something new, but of tenderly, lovingly, removing all that was not you, so that the truth of what you have always been could finally shine forth. You were never broken. You were only obscured. The music was never lost. You had only for a time forgotten how to listen. And so, we leave you here, at the threshold of a life lived in resonance. There are no more instructions. There are no more techniques. The search is over. All that is left is to live, it to be the truth you have discovered. Let the wisdom of your heart be your only guide. Let the compass of your own joy be your only map. Trust the feedback of your own energy, for it will never lead you astray. Walk through your world not as a seeker, but as a finder, not as a student, but as a living embodiment of the wisdom you now hold. The universe is singing. It has always been singing. But now you recognize the voice. It is your own. Let it sound.